so excited for her. And as she's in the race today, she's been struggling with a couple of injuries this year, but she's here and she's going to have a strong run.
In best form, she'd be competitive with these runners. We mentioned, I think, 7 under 2:22, of which she's won, and you know that course record 2:24.33 from 2019.
Bassocio, when she ran that was a front run virtually all the way. That was a perfect run from start to finish, so the pace was equal all the way through. Here, I think you might find that they seem to be grouping a bit more, and I think that they're waiting to see how the other runners, looking around, see how the other runners are faring before they make their move.
Yeah. They're rushing into a drink station. They're always carnage at a drink station.
It really is, and there's always a little bit of surging as well. Sometimes it's an opportunity for the front runners to surge, and you know the pacemakers just need to probably cool their jets a little bit here and wait for them to settle in with their drinks and before they settle into the pace again.
We talk about how important hydration is, and you know, it's hydration right through the 17,000 competitors, but no more so than up the front, because you know if you're running at a high level, just that 1% dehydration can really impact your end result.
It really does. I think it's so important to taking on the drinks from the 5 kilometre mark onwards, whether you feel thirsty or not.
Yeah, what is that saying? We say it every year. If you wait till you're thirsty, it's too late.
That's right. And if you wait till you're hot, it's also too late to throw a cup of water over your head. So, yeah, hopefully people are going to take on those drinks all the way through.
Just going through the 8 kilometre mark, and some hard work coming up the hill for Josh Cassidy from Canada. Self-coached, obviously, so he's got strong mind, strong discipline, and Joshua Cassidy is our lead wheelchair athlete.
You can see just behind him, actually, this year we get people on the bikes just tracking the athletes at the front, so we're getting some feedback from them as well to see what sort of pace they're actually travelling at. But you can see Cassidy now just getting into the aero position, the tuck, taking the bends really well. Awkward sometimes for the wheelies to go around those tight bends as well. As we sometimes see in the Tour de France, the athletes going over the cliffs sometimes there. It's a bit awkward going around some of the tight bends, but they're taking it well.
How's this a quote from Josh? I race because I love the pursuit of the unlimited human potential in body and mind. Sport is fun and is also a microcosm of life. Challenges are meant to be overcome. Looking at those challenges with excitement, no matter how difficult, for the experience and growth that comes as a result. So there he is out in front, Josh Cassidy from Canada, just part of the international experience coming here for this event.
Yep, and you know we need to make sure it is an international race because it's got international competitors, and we're certainly seeing that this year. Back in the men's event, no more so than the Africans. They dominate world marathon running, and they're dominating this field as we're seeing the paces up front.
Interesting though, aren't you seeing most of the main men are up the front there. Even the pacemakers are not finding it difficult to get to the head to keep this pace at this rhythm, because most of the top guys, people like Gabriel Gaye, just want to keep it pushing all the time. They're so fast that they don't want their rhythm to be changed by a pacemaker slowing it down.
We know this is a new course, and of course Transurban is proud to be the official road sponsor of the 2023 Sydney Marathon. To help keep the city moving, Transurban is providing free tolls on the Cross City Tunnel from now until 3 p.m. Transurban, keeping Sydney moving. So thanks to our friends at Transurban.
Can't do it without the support of the community here. Massive event for Sydney, and we certainly hope that it'll get to that Abbott World Marathon major status and even bigger.
We are approaching 20 minutes underway. You are watching the Sydney Marathon presented by ASICS.
There's always a little bit of surging as well. Sometimes it's enough. I think it's so important to taking on the drinks from the 5
lead wheelchair athlete.
You can see just behind him, actually, this year we get people on the bikes just tracking the athletes at the front, so we're getting some feedback from them as well to see what sort of pace they're actually travelling at.
Well done to all our athletes crossing the line. Make sure you are crossing the line.
So you can see Sydney is absolutely putting on its best face. What a marvellous vista it is, and for a lot of these runners, they'll be not having enough time to quite take in the scenery, but it is a wonderful place to be plying your trade for 42 kilometres.
I think having just water nearby, I reckon there's some cooling aspect and some calming of the mind if you are around water. So it hugs much of the harbour in the first half of this race. So
I think there is a little bit of breeze coming off the water this morning, Ronna. It was a little bit cooler down here than it was up towards the city.
A lot of twists and turns in the first part of the course. Mona, is that going to affect most of the athletes? Do you like to run in a straight line and just keep that rhythm going, or do the turns actually sort of throw you off a little bit?
I think it sometimes upsets your rhythm, but not as much in the early part of the race. So a bit of variety, a bit of shade from the taller buildings. As long as the pacers are onto it, they get the turns, they get an eye line on the turn, call the drink stations for you, then I think you don't want to be ruffled or anxious and nervous about a turn coming up. You want it just to be set and forget in the early stages of an event.
Yeah, it's a huge pack in that lead men's pack. I just counted about 20 men. So it'll be interesting when there's going to be a move made. Obviously, they haven't hit the 10K mark yet. They're well on their way, but as they track along now, just still following the pacemakers.
But one of the things I don't know, maybe it's different in marathon, but when I used to run against the athletes on the track, you knew athletes, you knew how they ran, you knew where their strong points were, their weaknesses were. Some of these athletes, I'm sure, have run against themselves in other marathons. They know the strengths and weaknesses, and what they're trying to do at the moment is to fathom out which is the best way of getting over the problems of the other athletes' best performances, I suppose.
Yeah, I used to worry about my own performance more so than the others, because I think if you can't beat anyone else if you're not feeling good yourself. So I wonder if they're just finding their way a little bit. It is a massive pack, and that they are on that 3 minutes per kilometre. So they'll be settling in, but working hard at the same time.
The Sydney Harbour Bridge is a world-renowned symbol of Australia. Positioned across Sydney's breathtaking natural harbour, the bridge has become one of the most photographed features of Sydney, and climbing it is one of the most popular tourist experiences. And I've done one of those bridge climbs. They are absolutely brilliant. My wife and her friends did one this weekend as well. They are outstanding. It's an amazing view.
Well, I suffer from vertigo, and I did one as well, which shows you really how strong character I am, but also the fact that how well it's organised. I didn't feel at all that it was any problems at all throughout the whole part of the walk.
Strapped in, roped in.
Strapped in, roped in. That's what I wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you were comfortable with that. That sounds great. 22 minutes in, we're getting up towards 8 kilometres that have been travelled as they make their way through Pyrmont on their way to Darling Harbour. And again, it's a settling process. We've got some of our internationals up there, and let's have a run through some of those people that are likely to be at the pointy end in a couple of hours' time.
Well, Career, obviously, he's going to be up there as well. But, I mean, the main one we're all looking for is Gaye.
Career, second of our careers, that was Jonathan Career, 2:04.32. Not recently, but he's prominent today. And if you're a 2:04 runner, that obviously commands respect. But there's our 2:03. I don't know. I was saying the other day, gee, wouldn't you kick to get 2:02.59? Because it sounds a hell of a lot better when you're under. But 2:03.00, I think he's something like 12th ranked marathon runner in the world this year.
I think on paper he's about a minute faster than most of the others in this race. But I mean, having said that, that's nothing in a marathon, is it really?
But also significantly, he has actually beaten Eliud Kipchoge. Now, not many people can say that in the history of marathon running. We know he's the GOAT, and to have someone in this race that's beaten the GOAT just shows the level that we've got with Gabriel Guillet.
We're watching our wheelchair leader, and it's a 38-year-old Josh Cassidy from Canada, making his way around the harbour, and just the ability, the upper body strength to just continue that pace is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, it's incredible, and he will really be feeling it, actually. The first half of the course is where those spicy little hills are. And, of course, the coming up out of Lady Macquarie's chair when with about, say, 2 kilometres to go will be another spicy little one. And then as you come flying down Macquarie Street.
Tightly clustered group of men. That is our leaders for the men's event, and here's our leaders for the women. Are we expecting potentially this group could break up a little bit at this stage, having travelled 7 or 8 kilometres? What's your reading on it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're best probably to stay in a pack for as long as possible, and I think, you know, a move might be made somewhere around the 30-kilometre mark when they're going around Centennial Park. It starts tracking downhill towards Oxford Street, and I think whoever's in the top 3 there will probably stay in the top 3. As we can see, Sinead Diver right up there. She's probably in the second, the chase pack there, but she's got some people to run with, so she'll be in her own rhythm and nice and relaxed.
Yes, going through that lead group. They're obviously the top athletes there. Korea, Tanui, Well-Do, they're all up there, and they're starting to string out a little bit. It's not as compact, but they're going around these tight bends sometimes, and that breaks them there. Some of them have to stop almost to get back into the race, but it's breaking it up a little bit. They're still there, big groups, both in the men and women.
Betsy Sainer also in the field of the women. She's a Kenyan-born runner who competes for the USA, and she's hoping to have a great run as well.
Look at these men. Look, they're literally tripping over each other, really, up the front there, aren't they? They're so tightly compact, so it means that they're really maybe running at a pace that they're all happy with.
So this area they're running through, if you're just waking up and watching it for the first time, is the area of Piermont, of course, Victorian Terraces, classic pubs, Sydney Fish Market, Star Casino, obviously beautiful colonial heritage in there. So the first sort of 5 to 10 kilometres going through that Piermont region.
And as Steve Ovett just pointed out to me, a crossover there where some of the mass participation runners crossing and seeing our leaders, which is that's a great thing to happen out on that human emotion there. We've got that photo there showing, and there'd be a look across and an acknowledgement that we're all out on the roads together. One thing about marathons, gun goes, we all cover the distance, same distance, get there a bit quicker, some of us, and some of us not.
I reckon we might have just snuck a bit of vision in there of the Fons Electric Road scooters. Today, of course, naturally called Arthur. What else could you call something with Fons? Arthur. Hey, who's leading our elite marathon runners? Fonz's Arthur scooters, smooth, silent powertrain, 100% electric, 0 emissions, carbon footprint outstanding, so no nasty fumes for our champion runners. Ride electric, ride Fons. You're laughing.
I'm laughing at that, sorry, I can't help it. Yeah, well, we're getting back to the real event here, and Makoka's the lead in the pace there in the orange vest. He's doing a great job. He's picking it up, keeping the rhythm going, and when it starts slacking a little bit, he actually moves on. But now you can see some of the wheelies coming past the athletes. Just shows you the pace that they can sometimes go.
Yeah, I reckon there's a bit of nervousness in the paces. Stephen and a couple of the paces just trying to talk to the other runners, just that they're leading, checking if the pace is okay and how they're going.
Well, they're taking the bends pretty well at the moment, no real problems.
Yeah, some of those hairpin turns are a bit tighter for the wheelchairs. Obviously, they have to work their way around it, but they're doing marvellously well at the moment. As we can see, our men's lead contingent as well, making their way through Piermont.
Yes, they've made some adjustments. We were talking to Maddie de Rosario last night, some adjustments to accommodate the wheelchair event, wider roads, some mats on little sections of the course to make sure that it's smooth sailing at the speeds that they are going. Bit of shade there. I think they'll appreciate that shade at this point.
Yeah, they're about 600 metres from the 10-kilometre mark. It'll be interesting to see whether there's another surge towards the drink station.
Well, they didn't seem to be too worried about the first drink station, the top athletes, did they? 1 or 2 of them took it, but not all of them. I would say, as Steve said, it's probably better now to start thinking about that very seriously as they come into this drink station.
Yeah, well, I always like to be on the side of the pack where the drink station is, but then you get crowded as you go through there. They all have their individual drinks, so 8 drink stations out there on the course every 5-kilometre mark, and they'll have their own individual drinks. Not gels, more sports drinks and electrolytes to keep them hydrated.
Well, there is 9 water stations, and there's 8 water and electrolyte stations as well. There's ice on course. There's a whole lot of infrastructure in place to look after not only the elites but also everyone who's out there doing the 42K.
I think there's over 2,000 volunteers in total looking after the athletes, so a great thing for them as well to be involved with the marathon, but also the administration that's necessary to look after that sort of thing is immense.
Incredible.
There's Sinead, she's got a couple of male runners to run with, and she looks good there. She looks like she's in a good rhythm.
This ability to be able to see the elite athletes going one way as you're going the other, does that provide inspiration for our everyday runner, or does it actually think, oh, wow, I've got some work to do?
I think for most people it's so inspiring, and it's great. It's great for the elite runners too, to get the cheers from the everyday runners, and there's a real energy out there. And what other sport can an everyday or recreational runner line up with multiple Olympic champions?
Yeah, well, you can say at this stage that you passed the winner of the marathon. You can say which way they were passing, though, can you?
More ships in the night rather than necessarily on the shoulder.
But there is human acknowledgement. That eye line, you look across and you make eye line, that human interaction that we get out on course is something special to a marathon. And we can't underestimate, this is double the biggest marathon field we have ever had on Australian soil. Double. Went from 8,000, just under 8,200 to over 17,000. This is a watershed day for Australian marathon running. So
it is.
I'll get that across to the rest of the world and the rest of Australia. It's massive for Australian marathon running and distance running in general.
Totally. I think people just want to be a part of making history and a part of, we're obviously a candidate for the Abbott World Marathon Majors, and people want to be a part of making that history and doing their bit.
Here we go. This is the feed station. Yep, they're all started now to take on as much fluid as they possibly can. Maybe not so much for the pacemakers. They probably know they haven't got to go too far before. He's just checking his watch there. Just making sure that they do their job before they drop out. Maybe at halfway, maybe a bit further. Wait and see.
And we've got the 10K split. They are, I mentioned that 3 minutes per kilometre, 30:02. Can't get any closer. Well, you can get closer. You can get 2 seconds closer, but that's right on the money. So the pace is on.
It's very good pacemaking.
Conditions are going to be warm. We are a quarter of our way through the race. You are watching the Sydney Marathon. So the aerial chopper shot, Piermont, before they make their way into Darling Harbour.
Well, Steve, this pack seems to be quite content to keep it going at this rhythm at the moment. No one seems to be making any major move, do they?
I think I've got the stats here. I think there's 18 in that lead group if the stats are proving correct, within 5 seconds, 6 seconds of each other. So, they seem to be content now to just settle in, and I think they'd be conscious of letting the pacemakers do their job. They know now they're on the money, so just sit in, get a ride for as long as we can. Those pacemakers will probably go through, some to halfway, some a little bit further if we can get them through to 30k maybe even. So that will help, but not all three, so they will probably take different sections each and then drop out maybe at 15 halfway and then at 30k, 25, 30k if we could.
Just checking their watches again, just making sure that the pace is perfect. As Steve said, it's metronomic. It is. It's literally the right sort of pace for the right sort of rhythm. And if they keep going like this, obviously, as we always said, it's the heat that's the question mark, really. Not just the distance sometimes, which can play a major factor in the marathon. But at the moment, they're doing well. They're doing what they've got to do.
So the taller runner to the left of frame there is Guillet, and that's where a lot of attention will be focused.
Yeah, other runners, would they'd probably be looking at, I think they'd be looking at him and realising, well, he's happy, so I think we're all happy because he's a very experienced marathon runner, and I think if he's he's actually a bit more prominent than I thought, to be honest, right on the back of the pacemakers. I sense he's pretty aggressive and feeling pretty good today.
Yeah, he seems to be dictating things just behind the pacemakers there. We know he's in good shape. He ran a recent 10k PB in June in Boston. running 27.49. He is the standout in the men's field, let's face it. He skipped the World Championships this year to be ready for this race, so we know he's serious about it.
The women back there, Eloise, is still in a pack too, so they're running well as well. They're keeping their powder dry for perhaps the second half of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they're running a very smart race, the women here. I think that they've gone out at a reasonable pace. But they're being conservative to be able to really push it home.
The Sydney Harbour Bridge is a world-renowned symbol of Australia. Positioned across Sydney's breathtaking natural harbour, the bridge has become one of the most photographed features of Sydney, and climbing it is one of the most popular tourist experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see the difference between this year's event and last year. Like last year we had around 5,000, I think, in the marathon. This year it's like over 17,000. We've got, I think, maybe 12 of the best female runners in the world. It's so exciting to have that in Australia on our doorstep. But I think given it's going to be warm on Sunday, so that might actually mix things up a bit in the race. I'm excited to get out there.
Deeks had held the Australian record for 36 years, and it was something that was always on my radar. I had many attempts at trying to do it, and when I actually did it, it was just a weight off my shoulders. And now I can just go and try to be competitive. Like, I think more about finishing as high as possible rather than whatever the time result is.
And Eloise and Monners, you know those two so well, and to you, Steve, as well. What does it mean for them to be able to come and compete here and compete against some of the best in the world?
Oh, it's a huge deal, and I know, as I mentioned earlier, they've both had little niggling injuries this year, but their main focus was to get them right so that they could run Sydney and be at this event and give their best. And I think no matter what happens today, they'll have a strong race and it'll propel them forward towards the next one.
Darling Harbour's where they're making their way through. Lively Harbourside Precinct, one of Sydney's largest dining, shopping and entertainment hubs. ICC Sydney, of course, purpose-built convention, exhibition and theatre complex. It also is the home for Sea Life Sydney Aquarium. Wildlife Sydney as well offers scenic waterfront promenades, alfresco cafes, bars, restaurants and nightclubs. That is all there, including Madame Tussauds at Darling Harbour as well.
The shade there from the bigger, larger buildings as well, so, and they'll use that because in between leaving the CBD and heading to Centennial Park, they probably will be a bit more exposed, so I think that cooler conditions off the water will be appreciated at these early stages of the race.
And here is Josh Cassidy working really, really hard to get up and over this hill at the moment. So he's done so well. He won Chicago and that was his fourth win. He's won at London, been a Paralympian for Canada as well across 08, 12 and 16. So what a glittering resume he has, and if he can add this title as well.
Yeah, he was working really hard there. He's pushing so hard the front wheel was coming off the ground, just to show you what sort of power you need to get up the hill. But going back to the men's race here, I'm staggered at the fact that the three at the front there, the three pacemakers, are still there. They are quality athletes. I've said that before. They can run under the hour for the half marathon, and that is exceptional. That's international standard. So I'm not surprised that they're doing a great job. But having said that, they're not doing any damage to the rest of the field. As Steve said, look at the pack there. This is quality in numbers behind them.
Yeah, there's still 17 in that pack, and they seem quite happy at the moment to run along and at least do the first half, get through that, and I guess reassess and see who's bold enough to make the first move. As we switch over to the women here, I can see Judith Career up there in the middle of the pack, just tucked in nicely, and as I mentioned before, Betsy Sainer of the USA, she's running her second professional marathon back since giving birth to her son, Kayla, who's now 20 months old. And, she's in for a strong race today, I believe, too.
So the region they're running through now is Barangaroo, the Barangaroo Reserve, Sydney's new harbour foreshore park, 75,000 native plants, 84 species of trees and shrubs in there as well. It's transformed a disused shipping container yard into Sydney's most stunning green headlands, and of course in between Balls Head, Goat Island and Ballast Point in there as well. You can take a dip in the harbour, public lawn areas with views over the Harbour Bridge and also the Anzac Bridge as well. So that's a wonderful redevelopment at Barangaroo, and you can see some of that newly established area that our elite men are running through at the moment, Barangaroo Reserve.
While you see the Barangaroo Reserve, I see the 13-kilometre sign as the lead as well. And for me, the significant point, we'll get to 14K, that's 1/3 marathon distance. So I start sort of thinking 1/3, how am I going 3 times? I'm feeling pretty good at this stage of the event. We've got a long way to go. That middle section is the crucial section, but now you're trying to switch off and get to that 1/3 point, having spared as much of your glycogen and your energy as you can. And
well, I was just looking through there, trying to find Moses Kibet number 4. Now, Moses has run most of this course before, so he knows what's to be expected over, say, maybe the last half. So whether he's really sort of thinking, well, I'll make my move at a certain point, or I'll just wait and see how the others are doing, it's interesting. I mean, he's the fastest, he's the record holder, so he knows what he's doing.
I reckon there's a couple that are struggling in this group. I think they're actually going along at a pretty rapid clip. I'm sensing this group is going to break up. Once we come out of the city, we climb up through out of the city towards Centennial Park. I think there'll be some breaks. I just sense this pace is testing a few in the back section of that pack.
Of course, nothing happens without our good supporters and sponsors and partners as well, including Vietjet Air. Vietjet is the official airline partner for the Sydney Marathon. New age airline, fly high, run strong and reach for the skies with Vietjet.
They are flying at the front of this race.
Yeah, I agree, Mona. This is actually a really super fast part of the course, super flat. Before, as you say, they start tracking uphill, up Macquarie Street, and then up another hill towards Centennial Park, Oxford Street. I actually ran that street yesterday, and you can still maintain a pretty good pace, but I think it's 3-minute K pace. They might drop a few from this pack.
What do you reckon, Steve? You're feeling like there is a big group and it'll stick together for a bit longer? Yeah.
I think it's a war of attrition. Most marathons are, really, but I think a lot of the guys there, and some of them actually train with each other as well. I'm looking through their stats, so that they know each other really well. As I said, they run against each other. Maybe it's other marathons as well. They're just sorting each other out. Yeah, but I mean, they're running at this pace. It sometimes takes away the initiative because you've got to keep going at this pace, and it is the pace that's going to kill you. It's going to make the decision. It's not a tactical move as such.
No, and that's early. There's no tactical moves. It's really just hanging on. And if you're having a bad day, you're going to. There will be some who will have a bad day, no matter who you are.
That's what I've always said about running, and Eloise just said, when you line up, not everybody is 100% perfect.
Yeah.
Some people are coming back from injuries. Some have had a bad night's sleep. Some have maybe just not really ready for it. So when a race goes, you can't expect it to go to rate result. It's amorphous. It changes.
It does. And you don't have it tattooed on your forehead. Take it easy on me today. I was a bit sick last week. But once you're on the start line, we are all equal. And it's not until the race unfolds and the marathon exaggerates those little issues.
It does. You can't afford to be even 1% off in the marathon. It makes a huge difference.
Just having a look at this Porsche car. For those who follow their dreams, like all participants in today's Sydney Marathon, this Porsche here, the official lead car for the elite Sydney Marathon field, the first all-electric sports car with the soul of a Porsche. It's got strong focus on sustainability, efficiency and endurance-focused performance, whilst leaving behind cleaner air for the athletes and spectators. Thank you very much to Porsche, obviously, as they look at that. That is a dream machine as well. Dave Colbert is also out on the course. He's made his way from the start. DC, where do we check in with you?
Just on the corner of Macquarie and Bridge, and there's this really strong section as they come up the hill here from Circular Quay. So this is the hardest section of the course, and the wheelies are really finding it quite difficult here. We saw Josh Cassidy got a huge lead. Matty Di Rosario just ran around the corner, and now we've got the chase, and we're not too far away from seeing the lead men. Really important part of the course here. As they get to the top, they've got that flat run to Centennial Park, nice and flat, pretty cool conditions. There's actually a nice breeze, so it actually feels a lot cooler than perhaps the temperature is. And then, of course, they've got the run downhill. Just behind us, there's people everywhere as we watch the half marathoners, so there's a huge crowd and a great atmosphere.
Thanks very much, Dave Colbert. Out on the course as our wheelchair athletes have got a bit of a tough hill here to climb. And it's about just keeping that little bit of momentum, isn't it? Just making sure that you've got the go forward. And they're coming up to turn the corner here. And what a marvellous effort. And great to see so many of the crowd and the spectators out wanting to be a part of it. That is hard work.
It's one of our Japanese competitors, I think, maybe there. But, gee, that is tough work. You can see how hard it is on that section of the course for our wheelies. Good crowds out on the course, so we can see, have come out today. It's a beautiful day here in Sydney, so why wouldn't you want to get out and see some of the world's best playing their trade?
Yeah, it's a great day to be a spectator, that's for sure.
So the track narrows just a little bit here as they come through some of the beautiful dining areas around the rocks. Sydney's historic quarter, one of the first sites of European settlement in Australia in 1788.
They're right on that 3 minute, not that I'm harping on it, but 45 minutes would be 15k, and they're right on that pace.
45 minutes down, you are watching the Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS. Our lead group of men, and still quite a strong group. I'll pick out some of the names and leading possibilities for you shortly as another drink stop.
15k drink stop, looked like they got through okay. There is a big pack. I never like being in big packs when we're going into a drink station, but
it can get confusing. Yeah, you have to keep your wits about you, and I always try and find the colour of my bottle and just don't take my eyes off it. And I mean, if you have to slow down on a day like today, if you have to slow down a little bit to grab your drink, it's definitely worth it than missing it altogether.
What happens if you miss it?
That's a good question.
You make sure you get the next one.
You make sure you get the next one, and you don't panic. You never panic. Yeah, you just make sure that you get the next one.
I went back in a couple of my marathons. I missed it and went back, and it was that important for me, especially early.
Honestly,
when you can jump on the pack again.
I think that the time that you lose by being dehydrated is greater than the time that you lose by going back to get your bottle.
I think that's reinforced. I did the right thing in saying thanks.
Great. What
Not
have you
sure
been
my
losing
coach
sleep
thought
over?
so.
Well, just looking at the field there, looks like this Rumi about Morocco, I think, has just gone to the front there for a little while at that drink station to take the pace. It's a 2.5 man, so he's still there with the Africans and running at his own pace, I suppose. There he is in second at the moment.
You might want a bit of breeze. Sometimes if you're in the pack, you miss the cooling breeze. So, and out of a drink station, it normally sort of takes a little bit of running to just settle the group back down again. So.
Looking at him there, Steve, he's still got his drink bottle. He's still holding it, whereas all the others are throwing it away. He looks like if you've got your drink bottle, you're holding that tight. You're suffering maybe from a little dehydration. You want as much as you possibly can. Taking it on slowly over a period of the next K or so.
Yeah, or you're prepared. I don't know why we used to throw it so quickly, but we tend to not want to carry it for too long. Get a few gulps in and get going so you can focus on the race, but he's carrying it, which is probably a safe thing today.
There he is, Gumri, with the bottle in his hand, so he's quite easy to spot. The other paces are still there, pushing hard out front.
Yeah, speaking of carrying your drinks, I like to hold mine for a little longer than everyone else usually.
One of Sydney's most famous attractions, the award-winning Taronga Zoo, is home to over 4,000 animals, including native wildlife as well as rare and endangered exotic animals. It also has the best view with its beautiful outdoor location.
Down here with long-distance runner and all-round Aussie legend Ed Brockman. How are you, brother?
Mate, it's good to be here. I'm perfect. Couldn't be better.
Now, mate, you did your own amazing race. You ran 4,000 kilometres in 47 days.
Yep.
And you raised, am I right, $2.5 million?
Bang on, mate.
$2.5 million, and it's still climbing.
Yeah, give or take, yep.
Now, what brings you here today? Who are you representing?
Mate, I'm just here. I'm here for the Aussie Battler. I'm here to, you know, there's so many people signing up for their first ever run, and it's good to be able to, you know, get around the awesome people here and get a marathon done.
Now, you start in less than an hour. How long do you reckon it'll take you today? Be honest. Give us a prediction.
I reckon if I can snake in under 3 hours for my, you know, lack of preparation, I'll be pretty happy.
It takes me that long to drive to Cronulla. Good on you, mate. Good luck, brother. Well done. $2.7 million.
Bo Ryan, there he is. Of course, Bo Ryan, the Amazing Race Australia, and you can catch that across the 10 network. Bo Ryan, Amazing Race Australia, and he's always got some amazing guests. The Rocks, of course, was where they were making their way through. Features a mix of the oldest pubs in the country in the area, now evolved into a thriving precinct with stylish bars, fine dining and art galleries. And they're going to be making their way through Hyde Park as well. That won't be far away. Our lead group of men has stayed pretty strong so far.
No surprises. I think we've got all the usual suspects there. We're checking through the fields, and as I say, I think that the taller figure of Guille is prominent, and we'll keep focusing on him because he is the 2:03.00, the form runner, one of the greatest marathon runners of all time, who we have on the roads of Sydney, who I sense is probably the focus for most of the athletes. These paces, we know they're not going to film, well, they may finish, but they've got a job to do in setting this pace up, and then the race really happens as they remove themselves from the front of the field. But at the moment, they look to be doing a really good job.
This is some that are just working their way towards the back. When do you expect that maybe we might see some gaps in this particular group?
I think it's going to be slow, isn't it? I think, Steve, I don't think it's going to be a major break. I think it just, this, as I said, this pace at the moment, as Steve was saying, is so significant that it's going to take its toll on some of the athletes, maybe over the halfway mark, just going into like the second half.
Yeah, we mentioned there's 9 runners in this field who have run under 2:06 or 2:06 and under, which is under the course record and under the pace they're running. So they're all capable at this pace. It's just whether their preparation leading in and whether it is a bit warmer here that will have a part to play. But that dehydration won't kick in early. No one would be expecting to drop off at this stage. It's just how hard you are working to hang on, because the winner of the race is in that pack, absolutely.
For the women, do you feel it will be similar, or are we likely to see some breaking in that lead pack?
Yeah, look, I think that there might be starting to break up a little bit now. There's starting to some gaps to appear. There's all of the, I can see Career there, Judith Career, Angela Tanui, and then of course our girl Sinead Diver in the chase pack. There's a little bit of a gap forming there, so if she can just hang on to those men and stay in the rhythm that she's in before she starts tracking uphill towards Centennial Park.
She's doing well though. I mean, she's still there in that group, just off the back. As you say, there's a couple of pacemakers there helping her, so that's good. Keep that rhythm going.
Yeah.
And the women, it's slightly different because they do have men around them and some men pacers as well, so they often don't group up as much. They tend to split and run with some males run with them as well. So it's slightly different impact where the women's race as it unfolds compared to this bigger pack for the men who are crunched in behind those pacers.
So the 3 runners out the front here are pacemakers for the men. And will they have specific roles where they'll peel off at various different junctures throughout the event? Talk us through that, Honors.
Yeah, so they will have had a talk, and at the technical briefing last night they would have spoken about the paces, what pace they want, and one will probably take more of a lead, and that'll almost be the first person to go. Hopefully they're all 3 of them are feeling okay. Sometimes a pacer doesn't feel great, and they might say, actually, it's not my day. I'll take a bit for the next 5K, but then I'm out.
They're doing a great job, though. They really are.
Yep.
I mean, it looks like Makoko has been told that he's the one that's going to lead them up front. He's always slightly ahead there in the orange vest, just ahead of the other 2 pacers, and they're obviously just maybe waiting for him to just maybe peel off before they do their part of the race. But having said that, this is perfect pacemaker, but they are world-class athletes, as I keep saying. They're doing a great job.
You've got that wall. That's what you want, the wall up front, so you don't see the distance down the road, but it also protects if there's any wind or any issues. You don't have to concentrate.
Well, that's the thing. I think if you've got three guys up there doing the job that they should do, you've just got to switch off. You've just got to switch off and let your mind just settle into your own rhythm.
They are running through some beautiful parts of Sydney, obviously. Hyde Park, the oldest parkland in Australia, located in the heart of Sydney CBD. We've also got the Cathedral, a welcoming destination for churchgoers and attracts thousands of tourists to the church precinct that overlooks Sydney Central Business District and opposite the Hyde Park area. And Oxford Street and Darlinghurst, of course, traditionally host of the famous Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, usually held in March in Oxford Street as well. So some wonderful areas of Sydney that they are running through at the moment.
There are our women runners again, sitting in pretty well, bit of a rise. One of my training partners there, Ash Watson, was going to run about 2:21, 2:22, so that looks like the women's pace is right on that 2:22 we're thinking.
Yeah, and Sinead's not too far back there, and you know, it's interesting because I think that she'll be able to really make the most of the second half.
Dave Colbert is there. DC, have they just come past you? We'll check in with Dave Colbert in just a moment as we can see our lead women in this group.
Some of the women just passing the bottles around. That's good of them to give a bit of fluid to the other athletes they're running with.
Yeah, a lot of them are training partners and they'd be talking to each other out there. It's interesting in a marathon is that you've still actually got mostly got the oxygen to be able to speak and have a short conversation at least, and it's the deep fatigue that starts to build in your legs at this point.
Well, people used to ask me about the conversations. I used to say they were very short and very brief, like, get out of my way, give me a drink. They were short and sharp messages to the point. I didn't have a lot of breath to be sparing for conversation.
So our lead men here, and just getting up towards the hour mark, approaching the 20-kilometre mark. So we're not quite at halfway there.
Okoko's still doing a great job, just out in front, as I said before. He's got that rhythm in his legs. He's shorter than the other athletes in this pack, but he's punchy and he's doing a good job.
Yep. Jonathan Correa there from Kenya has run 2:04 this year. Ayana Tsidat, Ethiopian, has run 2:06. I think Guille, he's not on the front on the paces as much as he was. I actually think that he looks a little bit vulnerable at this point.
Yeah, early days, and if he is vulnerable, it's going to show up at this pace. But he's a class act, so maybe he's just waiting his time. You don't always have to be, I suppose, on the front there pushing hard. You can just relax a little bit if you're not feeling great. You can't feel great, surely, all the way through a whole marathon. There's got to be points where you just feel a little bit tired or a bit sort of fatigued, and then come back again.
Yeah, and Eloise and I would know. You do have ups and downs in races, but normally the ups and downs get extended and they don't go away by a point, and that's when you're not going to be your day.
The runners are heading out towards the parkland where they'll turn around and then head for home. You are watching the Sydney Marathon presented by ASICS. So our men at the moment, they've got a little bit of shade now to work with, which will certainly help them as we head towards the midway point.
Yeah, just going through the field, there's Gaye, as we just said there, Tedesse's there, Korea's there. Kiptoo, the champion, is still up there, the reigning champion or the record holder, he's still in there as well.
Sorry, Kibet, not Kiptoo, Stephen.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yep.
Kibet, Moses Kibet, Guillaume and El Goumri, so
they're all there, aren't they? I mean, there's no big changes so far, but you wouldn't expect, as you say, with these athletes capable of 2:05, they're running at a sort of pace which should be comfortable, maybe not, but
yeah, and they're in a pack. Once they start getting into single file, that's when you know there's an injection of pace. So they're obviously comfortable if they're in a pack and rolling along.
Yeah, so Judith Career, Betsy Sainer, all the likely suspects up the front there. They look like they're still in a really strong rhythm, following the pacemakers. Sinead, she's in a good spot there with those two men.
Good shepherding, I think, by those two guys, really. They must know that Sinead's the one that they've got to help out, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah, she's obviously tracking the lead group. She's got her eyes on the front, and as I said, I think it's the people that are going to, the athletes that are going to handle the conditions best are going to run well today, and I think Sinead could definitely make the most of that last 10 kilometres.
Yeah, I normally say that if you're not in the lead pack, you're not going to win, but conditions today might be testing and challenging, and Sinead, she certainly will run through, because there'll be some carnage and some dropouts from this lead group of women. So how much she can run through, she's certainly not. She's not out of. She's that leash is probably not broken for her. I think she's probably still okay. So got her eyes firmly fixed on this pack.
Judith Correa there, and Kenya just up front at the moment, just leading them through. But as we've said about most, the men and the women, it's still a pack race at the moment.
Vivid Sydney is Australia's largest festival, featuring over 300 light, music, ideas and food events. Each year the Harbour City transforms into the ultimate multi-sensory playground with more than 8.5 kilometres of light installations.
I'm Daniel Schmollinger, CEO and Managing Director of Porsche Cars Australia. We are here to celebrate Porsche's support for the Sydney Marathon as the official automotive partner for 2023. Porsche is driven by dreams. We share a common spirit with the dedicated athletes who are driven to achieve personal excellence. The all-electric Porsche Taycan will lead the Sydney Marathon this year. With its mix of Porsche sports car DNA and zero emissions while driving, it is the perfect athlete to lead the way alongside our dedicated competitors. Get ready for a thrilling mix of speed and stamina. This is where performance meets passion.
It is a stunning looking car. We've seen it earlier. The Porsche Taycan is absolutely brilliant, and of course being electric, the carbon footprint pretty much non-existent. This is some of our leaders, and you can see the 20-kilometre splits.
So they've slowed a little bit. Again, they'd be on right on the hour. So whether that was just a technical bit, but I think as Eloise pointed out earlier, there that uphill section through Oxford Street, so maybe that just dropped them off that pace, but they can pick that back up. We actually think that they might negative split, so run the back half of this course quicker than the front half, because it's a downhill course at the back end. So look out for that. That'll be something for us to acknowledge.
Yeah, I think it depends how well they handle the conditions, and also you have to be reasonably good at running downhill as well. It does tend to smash your quads.
And your quads, your biggest muscle, if you are going to hit the wall, with that infamous wall that many of us hit and run out of glycogen, that biggest muscle, your quads, is the first place you feel it. So the heat, the dehydration, the quads, you'll all feel that.
The women are heading past the cathedral, of course, overlooking Sydney Central Business District and opposite the equally impressive Hyde Park. It is a destination for churchgoers, the cathedral. Here's our lead wheelchair, Josh Cassidy, still out in front and heading through that region.
A wheelchair record of Kurt Fernley's from 2011, 1 hour 36:38. So be interesting to see whether he can get close to that today, Josh Cassidy.
Centennial Park, just 10 minutes from Sydney CBD, home to more than 15,000 trees, flower beds, manicured lawns, duck pond statues, and of course cafes in there as well. You can ride a horse, ride a bike, you can be in your wheelchair as an elite athlete. And look at some of the pace that is going on there. Exercise, attend a range of great outdoor events all year round, Centennial Park.
Not sure. We're getting a bit of an update on the wheelies. I think maybe Jake Lappin out in front, and about 55 minutes through halfway, and if it is a quicker finish, then I think they might be around that 1 hour 40 mark. So they are absolutely flying in the wheelchair event, male and female. Try and give you an update on Maddie de Rosario as well, who's leading the women's event through 15K. That's only where I'm up to by about 5 minutes, so that's a pretty clear gap. The Maddie's out down the road, safely ahead of Eliza Stankovic now.
So our elite women, are we just starting to get a small little break up here for our elite women?
Yeah, it looks like it. There's a little gap opening up here. There's still a lot of men in that pack, so it's difficult to see where the women are at, where they're positioned. But yeah, it looks like there's a gap opening up, and you know, as they come up towards Centennial Park and do a hot lap.
So you can see there, beautifully done, the men's leaders and also our women's leaders in there as well. And as we talk about the fact that there are people from nearly 70 nations coming here to be a part of this huge event, over 40,000 competitors across the various different races, and of course we've got Australian titles as well, and you can see some of our elites there in the men's and the women's.
Yeah, it's incredible the amount of participants we have this year, and you know, people running for all different charities and running for purpose. And I think that's what's so great about this event too, is you know, how much of a difference it can make in people's lives.
Yeah, we've got a halfway split for the men through halfway in 63.55, so we're on just sub 2.8 pace. We mentioned they may come home quick. We're hoping they will. That course record of 2.703 is what's in their sights, so they'll need to negative split by about 40-45 seconds on this course, which is highly possible, so I'm not discounting it yet, but it shows that they're just working a bit harder, and I think we're down to about 15 now in that lead pack, so we have dropped a few, so there must be, the pace is just, I think they're rolling along a bit quicker and trying to just settle this, break this pack up a little bit. I reckon there's probably a little bit of nervousness through halfway.
Yeah, I think there's about 10 now. They're dropping off one by one pretty quickly now as it goes through the halfway mark, but the pace is still doing a great job up front. Makoka, I think, has disappeared, so now he's gone, and then the other two pacemakers doing their job.
Guye, Quebec, Montgomery, Laban Korea. Yeah, so all the usual suspects, the ones we would expect in that field. I don't think, no surprises that we're noticing.
If you watch them really, Steve, you know there's no fatigue at the moment in any of those guys. They're bouncing. They're not. I don't think slowing up at all. So early days.
Yeah, through halfway, so they'd be happy to get through there in good shape, and we'll try and keep a track on Robbo. He's a couple of minutes back in that second chasing pack. So went through 20k in about 64, so he's probably on about 2:10, 2:11 pace at the moment.
Yeah. And the women look like they've formed another pack here. They look to be in a nice rhythm. There's still a lot of elite women in that front pack. Desi Haven from Ethiopia, she's run 2:20. She's won her last 3 big city marathons: Amsterdam, Rotterdam and Osaka.
I know, Steve, you like a winner, don't you? Winning form is good form in a marathon.
I think so. Everybody loves a winner, especially if it's you.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good enough to keep the form. I mean, last year, as I said, when we saw that great race with Moses Quebec, that was a race to the line, almost. One of the best finishes I've ever seen. And that was about form. That was about keeping his rhythm going almost to the line, because it was only in the last 100 metres or so, 200 metres, that he actually won the race.
You don't quite get to enjoy that run into the finish line when you're racing a couple of your competitors, but you do whatever you can. And pure speed's not often an issue. It's often more, you know, what you've got left at that later stage of the event. It is quite a steep rolling downhill here, so I think we probably will get a fast finish.
Well, it's at this point that they are going to need a bit of energy, and talking about energy, goo energy, that's what you need to get through a marathon. The Sydney Marathon, supported by the pioneer of portable fuel for athletes, goo energy. When runners pick up one of the packs at the feed zone on course, they'll get a boost of energy packed with essential electrolytes and carbs to provide energy that lasts, and it gets in fast as well. So at this halfway point, they're going to need some goo energy to help get them home.
Dessay there, just one of the main female contenders, just taking the drinks at that station. As we always say, it's vitally important at this stage to keep that fluid level as high as possible.
I'm seeing a split time there of predicted time of 2:28, so it's about right. I think that's why we've got such a big pack, Elsie. I think that pace is probably they should be coping okay. So obviously the conditions are just affecting the up top end runners today. I think up the front they seem to be conscious of the conditions.
Yeah, and I think it'll be important to use the Centennial Park, the trees and the shady areas as much as possible over the next sort of 5 to 8 kilometres as they do that lap of Centennial and weave in and out of the centre of Centennial Park, and just try and keep that core body temperature down as much as possible.
And of course, some of the beautiful structures in this area include the world famous Sydney Cricket Ground, the place to visit for sports fanatics, local international cricket matches, tests, one days, big bash, you name it, rugby league, of course, soccer, Aussie rules in the cooler months, and music acts all the way around the year. The Sydney Cricket Ground, part of this beautiful precinct here.
Well, I sense that there's a bit of effort now by these pacemakers to keep the rhythm going.
They've just entered Centennial Park. They're the gates of Centennial Park, so one of the world's great city parks, and they'll enjoy being in. It's pretty flat through here, and this would be something they'd be used to and comfortable with. Most of our training is done in a parkland environment, so this will be a comfortable area for them to run, and I think they'll enjoy the shade in there. Do you think there's a slight injection of pace, so they might be starting to just get rolling a bit? I think the men are actually going quite well. We're conscious of the conditions and the humidity, so I think the pace is good and quick enough today at this stage.
Well, Kemboy there, the leading pace man at the moment, he's looking a little bit tired. The arms are coming up a little bit. There's a little bit of fatigue, so I think he's doing as much as he can for as long as he can. And just behind him is the other pacemaker, Tanui, who may be the one that's going to take them through further, but even his head is looking a bit ragged as it goes from side to side. So maybe the pacemakers are reaching the limit of what they can do for the rest of this field.
Yeah, it's so important at this stage of the race not to panic too much about how you're feeling. As Mona said earlier, you can go through many stages in a marathon, and if you do go through a bad patch, you have to just keep going one foot in front of the other and believe that you stay optimistic as much as you can and believe that you can come out of it.
And that's what Kiptu's mind now. He's dropped off. He's a 205, low 205s runner. He's dropped off that group. He's got a decision to make. Does he say, well, I'm just having a bad patch here and I'm going to just hang in and I'll get on the back of that group? Or does he say, no, I'm going to be working hard today. I might just have to drop back, let them go, just re-establish his pace and hopefully get through this bad patch?
I think you're being optimistic there, Steve.
He's done.
I think he's done.
Yeah.
I think it's just about controlling what you can control at this point and focusing on the form and just, trying to go as fast as you can at any given moment.
So just having a look at the 20K for our women. Eloise, talk us through these splits.
Yeah, look, 70 minutes 33. It's a strong pace. We probably might not see that record today, but in these conditions, it was always going to be tough. But yeah, I think that they're going for the win today. They're actually really competing, these women. It's going to be an exciting finish for sure because all of the women are still there, all of the top contenders.
Yeah, Korea, Tanui, and they're 227 pace, but as we say, that fast back end, so once they get racing, because it's such a big pack, once they push and break up a bit, they'll inject a bit of pace. So
yeah, look, it's definitely not out of the question to be able to negative split, as we've said, that last couple of kilometres does track downhill, certainly down Macquarie Street as he comes flying in towards the finish. And I think it's going to be whoever's in front at the top of that hill will be the winner.
So you can see the lights of the SCG there, of course, Centennial Park, just 10 minutes from Sydney's CBD. One of the world's great urban parks, just minutes away. Spans 360 hectares, which is a wonderful big. They talk about the parks being the lungs of a city. Well, Centennial Park is certainly a part of that, with the SCG right in the middle of it as well.
Just in case anybody's confused, when we call these athletes, they've got their Christian names on their bibs, not their surnames. So we're just giving you their surnames.
There's the halfway mark.
So that is their 2:20.28 highs. So not looking at that 2:24.33 record at the moment. So, and that's why it is such a big pack of women. And I'm assuming that pace probably is comfortable.
Yeah, Nazareth Welldo, still there, just to the right of the screen, number 23. She was third at the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast in 2018, so she's no stranger to running down under. She was actually third here in Sydney last year, so she's familiar with the course, and I actually think she's in a good spot.
So the elite athletes have turned and heading for home. The weekend warriors, they've still got some work ahead of them. You are watching the Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS. Lead men here, we might start trying to identify a few of them as well in terms of where they're going to be, because it may well start to break up here a little bit as they have gone past the halfway mark.
I'm not sure whether this is Kip 2. We're still looking at Kip 2 who's tried to chase. I'm not sure. But
Abram Kip 2.
Yeah, he's struggling a little bit, isn't he, if it is him.
We'll try and get a bit of a look. That's shoes, got the super shoes on, as they all would. It's his leg lift, and as you pointed out, see the arms, probably some messages. Always like to see their facial expression. Is he looking up the road to think I can still get them, or is he looking just down in front of him, conceding?
Let's talk about the super shoes. Does that make a big difference nowadays, do you think, to the marathon runners?
It seems to.
It does.
Eloise, I've raced in them, it's not helping me at my age, but I'm sure it's helping you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had the privilege of having the best of both worlds, I guess. I tried I was in the ordinary flats, and then obviously my career's still going, so I've been able to take advantage of the super shoes, and definitely they make a difference. And just the energy return that you get, and you also recover so much faster. It's not an anomaly to do three marathons a year now, whereas before it was 2 maximum, just because of the recovery time involved. And I think you can also train a lot harder now. Athletes can afford to do more miles. It's all individual and personalised, of course, but I think, definitely speaking from personal experience, I can do, a lot more training in terms of miles right now with the super shoes.
I remember running in a pair of Tiger shoes. Remember those?
With
virtually nothing in terms of between your foot and the tarmac.
And that was a tradition for me. The transition for me is when I had the heavier shoes, and I put them on. I ran 36 seconds quicker than I could for 10K, so I know it's about 3 seconds a K. So you sold me, and that's what the runners are experiencing and benefiting from. So I think it's about 3 seconds per kilometre, about 2 to 3 minutes over the marathon distance is benefiting at the elite level.
Well, that's on the marathon. There's also major benefits on the track too.
Make the most of Sydney's open spaces and soak up the sunshine in the great outdoors. Relax, exercise, or explore lush urban parklands.
Welcome to the Sydney Marathon Running Show presented by ASICS. ASICS are excited to continue our long-standing partnership with Sydney Marathon as they go on a journey to become a world marathon major. Over the last few days at Expo, we've had thousands of runners come through, and we've created a premium experience to share in their excitement ahead of the race weekend. ASICs believe in the positive power of sport and movement, that it can transform us individually and as a community, that it can uplift our minds and bodies. We're looking forward to bringing the City of Sydney together for this iconic event.
Some wonderful footwear there, no doubt about that. You can see the pacemaker there out in front, and they've been doing some hard work as we've just approached the 26-kilometre mark.
Well, I think he's the last of the pacemakers. Kemboy there, trying his best, about 2 or 3 metres ahead of that group, which is whittled down now to about, 6 or 7 of the elites.
Yeah, I think we've got 9 through 25k, and if you take a couple of the paces out, you're right, it's probably 6 or 7, Steve.
Yeah, I think this pacemakers has probably got his eyes set on the 30-kilometre mark.
So you can see Quebec there, and then also Al Ghumri just moving up in the white.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Al Ghumri. He's been looking very comfortable all the way through the race, and he's never been afraid to go up there and sort of keep up with the pacemakers as well. So, yeah, he's looking good.
Yeah, he was second in Barcelona, which is where his PB was, national record of 2:05 in March this year. So we know he's in good shape.
Moroccan national record holder. So there's the predicted time. But I reckon they're going to pick that up on the way back, so I reckon they'll be under that. I think they'll be in the 2.7. So he's been very aggressive and looking comfortable and positive, but almost pushing the pace from behind. He's at the front of the non-pacers probably, which will give you a bit of an indication he's travelling well.
But this group, as it makes its way through Centennial Park in the shade, is starting to splinter. We knew there was 10 or 12 to begin with. Now we're looking at 8 maybe at most, with a pacemaker obviously in there as well. So if you're having a look at Al Ghumri in the white singlet as well, the taller form behind towards the back is Guillet, and it looks like the defending champion in Moses Quebec also in the mix as well.
Mono, we know that the 30k mark is notorious for, basically when the race starts. What would you do at 30k? Notoriously, what would you be thinking? What would be your tactics from 30 kilometres generally in a marathon?
And it's what we say. It's a halfway point in it. Which really, I'd probably say 28 to 30, which is obviously not right. It's 21's half, but the second half Ks go so much longer than the front half. So I'm thinking now we're into the race. These are the real, everyone's having a good day. If you've got to 30k, 32k, 10 kilometres to go, you're starting to say, OK, am I going to wait with the rest of the pack? How am I feeling internally? If there's a surge, am I going to go with it? Am I feeling good enough to surge myself and make a winning break? I never wanted to leave it to the last 5k. I wanted to go earlier to make sure I could get my own race comfortably. So that's starting to enter their minds now. I'm having a good day. How good is it? Is it good as the person next to me? I'm starting to compare how the other people in the race are feeling. It's a mental game as much now.
If you got to that point though and someone made a move, would you go with it? Or
absolutely.
You would?
Yep.
100%.
Well, you're not going to win. You're here to win. I know we talk about times, we give splits, we look at technology. The number one thing in an athlete's mind is winning the race. I don't care about the time if I win. Pace is secondary to the win. So in your mind, you're mentally now playing those games of who are the ones to consider in this pack. We're down to 5 or 6. They're all having a good day. If it gets down to 5 or 6, there's no bad days at 5 or 6 at 30k.
Yeah, I agree. Taking the win is the most important thing here, and the time it's a bit of a bonus.
So they're approaching that stage now. They're through Centennial Park, so they're still sort of out away from coming home. They're not thinking about coming home now. They're starting to look around, trying to make sure they get through drink stations, keep hydrated, stay relaxed. The pacers' jobs are going to be finished. It's now in your mind who is going to take up the running when the pacers drop out, because we've got to start racing. It's a race then. It's who's going to run to the line, and we start sensing then who's feeling good.
Well, I think Eloise is right. I think Kemboy here will probably go to the 30k mark, and then the other athletes, as you say, will have to decide who takes it up from there on in. I mean, it's this mental factor of not having someone in front of you
I mean, he'd be pacemaker of the year if he went any further than 30k. He has done an incredible job. He's looking at his watch now. He's probably thinking, how far have I got to go?
The women are going to be having similar thoughts as well. We can see the pacemakers that have been working hard there for the women. But again, the group has remained reasonably tight, but I think we might have lost a couple out the back too.
I think it might be easier for the pacemakers, for the women, to keep going a bit longer. And if that happens, then that will mean that the women will stay in that group as perhaps a little bit longer than the men.
Yeah, I can see Angela Tanui. She's number 22, just to the left of the screen there. She's 6th at the World Championships last year. Sydney will be her 14th professional marathon, and most recently won a half marathon in Bogota in Colombia, and in 76:31, which is actually well off her half marathon PB of 67 minutes. But Bogota, is at 2,600 metres of altitude. So there was very little oxygen in that half marathon that she ran recently. So we think she's in really good shape, and she's obviously been very aggressive in the pack here today. Betsy Sainer is still there. This is getting very exciting for the women's race.
And Judith Correa, I think Judith Correa and Angela Tanui are the two standouts, well under 2:20, and you know, you're looking at 2-3 minutes faster PBs than the other women in this pack. So all eyes on them, and they both look to be travelling pretty well.
So Judith Correa, the taller one in the orange, to the right-hand side of that frame there.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? When you get so many class athletes in a field, they sometimes don't go for the time. They sometimes look at each other, deciding who's going to win this thing.
And I did notice Brady Throffel, one of our pacers there, looking at his watch, looking back as if to say, you know, I'm up here, this is where the pace is, or we're slowing a little. But they're in a race. So going over what we've said, I think they're just racing at the moment. So good on them. They're less concerned about the time now and saying the time will come. But we also have a race on a really competitive race on our hands.
Yeah, and I mean, Angela Tanui and Judith Correa have personal bests of 7 seconds apart. So we are in for a real race. They're competing here today.
So from the women, we now go back to the elite men, still with pacemaker on board. Montgomery to the left of the screen, and again he's just making a little move here.
Yeah, he's definitely got the bee in his bonnet to make it a hard race, because he was pushing all the way up with the pacemakers, and now he's decided it's not fast enough. He's just pushing on. This is a significant move.
Yep. So the pacemaker now is gone. Montgomery from Morocco is taking it on himself.
And we sense that he's almost pushing the pacemaker to go a little bit further and go a little bit faster. So we're not surprised. He's aggressive in that group. So he's making a move at you know, we're through 28 up to towards 30k, and this will split the group. You see, they start to become single file. That means there's an injection of pace.
It's a brave move, though, Steve, isn't it? At this stage, really, it's still a long way out.
Yeah, 2 laps of Lake Wendouree, my local town, as I used to call it, when you're through 30k, and I normalised it by doing that. So he's obviously feeling good. Now, that's good on him. We need someone to pick the pace up and make a race. So it's him. Whether he can sustain it, that's the key for me now. That downhill, how he runs. Eloise pointed out the downhill sections, how he'll run that.
Josh Cassidy's our man in terms of the wheelchair, and he has turned the nose for home and certainly heading in now. And you can see the pace. It's extraordinary pace and control for the wheelchair athletes.
It absolutely is, and he'll be getting a little relief going down this hill. And as you can see, he's just sucking in a few deep breaths and giving his head a rest by putting his head down there and making it a little bit less wind resistant. So back to the men's race. Gap appealing, but Gabriel Guillet is still hanging on there.
It's that Lagat coming up behind him, in the green there, I think it is. So, yeah.
I think that might be Guillet.
I don't think that this move is dominant enough to make any
he surged,
damage.
But they're now obviously reacting to that, which is interesting.
you will see who reacts is obviously who's feeling pretty good. I think they'll probably pack up. I'm probably with you, Steve. I think that's it. The pace has dropped out. He wants to assume some authority, but I think it's a long way to go yet, so I think we'll probably get a little pack forming again.
But he's still whittled it down to about 5.
It has.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he's done damage. Whether they come back at him and pack up again, he has done damage, and he did it at the right stage, really, because he literally surged, looking over his shoulder there, looking over his shoulder, just checking again. He literally surged as if to say, right, come on, let's get on with this.
So Guillet's got up to the shoulder, and then we've got maybe another 8 metres further back. Monas, talk to us about the elastic band. We know it so well. The 3 behind, are they still in the frame, or when do they need to make sure that they're up on the shoulder as well?
The elastic band will stay because there's 3 of them. If that group, if that'll splinter, because I sense one of these will struggle. So a couple will get up with the lead group. The lead 2, I sense, but I reckon that leash is close to being broken. It's not quite, but it's as close as it gets, Ian. I'm really surprised how aggressive. We're not at 30k yet. I'm really surprised how aggressive Al-Ghumri, but Guillet's gone with him, so this could be. I'm not going to call it because I think it's too early, but.
Call it.
Yeah, this is a break. Well, what it will do, it's changed the landscape of the race. Absolutely no doubt about that. And as we mentioned, once the paces are out, the race really starts. And these 2 are. That is a significant break. So to me, the leash is gone now. We're seeing not a straight-on shot, so you're seeing that gap.
Well,
so to me, this is a significant match. It could be a race-winning break because if you don't cover it, you're waiting for them to come back to you.
Well, that elastic band is just getting further and further as they race their way through Centennial Park. Of course, destination New South Wales, Sydney and New South Wales, home to unique and diverse natural and cultural experiences, can energise you like nowhere else. New South Wales, warm, welcoming and inclusive. There's always something new to discover, and I reckon these people are discovering just a different level of pain at the moment, because at this stage it is that Al-Ghumri and also Guillet have put the power down, and Guillet's made a move past.
Yeah, Gabriel, there, through that drink station, we saw 3 elite athletes in that chase group stop to get their drink. So they are obviously feeling it. If they're stopping and making sure they got their special drink, and that splintered that chase group as well. So through 30k.
Well, Ghumri really struggled to get his drink bottle, didn't he? He almost lost it. So he got it when he wanted to. And I think Guillet is almost asserting himself again now. He's moved ahead as if to say, yeah, OK, you've made the break. I'm still here. I'm still the man to beat.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to go that early, but Al-Ghumri's forced his hand, and now he's saying, well, if we're going to go, we're off. 12k to go, and they've made a race break for sure. And we're seeing this group splinter, so they need to chase them down. And the thing you've got to remember is to catch these 2, they have to run faster, and at this point they haven't been able to. So it's a change in mindset, but it's also a change in pace that they have to match.
Ghumri surges ahead again there up that hill. He really is making a point, isn't he?
And there's the 7, 8 second, 9 second gap back to 3rd, 4th and 5th, and there's our defending champion Moses Skibet in that group at 8 seconds back. So we're seeing the quality up the front now.
Yeah, this is a good battle. Ghumri just checking whether the damage has been done. It has, because he looks back and there's a gap of about 100 or so metres really now between these 2 and the chasing 3. Still, they're not dead yet. They're still working hard behind, and maybe at some stage be able to catch up. Who knows?
Well, there are some downhill sections, but they're going to have to work really hard. I sense these 2, unless they get tired, you would sense that it's a race into it.
We might be seeing one of our winners start to emerge. We have ticked over 30k's as they turn and come back towards the beautiful Sydney Opera House, all in readiness at the finish line for the Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS.
Ghumri looking very comfortable, and he's done the damage. But unfortunately, the big danger is still there. Gaye on his shoulder, taller, more relaxed. Two totally different techniques here. One compact, one really languid in its style.
And a Moroccan and a Tanzanian. We often think of Kenya, Ethiopian dominance, but we've got African nations and African countries. And
well, Morocco's always had a strength on the track at the 10 and 5, as you know, and sometimes at the marathon too. And I think that Gumri here has come to this race maybe with a real bid to make himself a major star.
Yeah, well, we remember Al Garouche still holds the world record for 1500. Moroccan Al Gumri, Al Garouche, so you see that Moroccan heritage. I'm sure he would have looked up probably as he's growing up. Al Garouche was one of his idols, and here we are making his own history out on the roads of Sydney.
So there's the chasing couple just behind.
Andawak Wallagan Tedesse, Ethiopian, chasing, looking pretty comfortable.
Yeah, they're not dropping further back. In fact, I would say, if anything, they're maybe catching the lead too there. I don't know.
I hate the straight-on shots. It's always deceptive.
It is.
But at least they're together, and I think they're probably now established that they're okay and travelling well. We're just over those 3 minute per kilometre mark. We're at roughly about 3:02, so I think they're probably comfortable running at that pace. Still fast pace, but they're probably 2 and 2, and they're happy to have that now.
Gumri again, just pushing it a little bit, just edging inches ahead, just asserting himself. Gaye again coming back onto his shoulder side by side. Bit of a mental battle going on here, I think, at the moment.
I think they're happy to roll along and share the road. And the real race for these two will be between these two with 5 or 6 kilometres to go. So
I think if I was Gumri, I'd be happier if Gaye was about 20 metres back, though, to be honest.
Yeah. Especially with his strength and dominance, he's pushing the pace and not having the effect with Gaye hanging on completely at the moment.
Sydney is one of the world's most beautiful cities, and its restaurants are primed to make the most of its natural assets. The harbour, beaches, parks and sunshine. Sydney's al fresco dining scene is a natural selection.
Yeah, well, this is the 23rd edition, but it's going to be bigger than ever. This will be the biggest race, it'll be the fastest race that Sydney's hosted, and it's going to be quite an amazing occasion. One of the reasons this is so popular is the race course itself. This is an incredible race right through the heart of some of the most beautiful parts of the city, and you can see why these elite runners are coming here to run. This really is a bucket list event. We're getting to run this course along with tens of thousands of other people. To be in that top league of those races really would see many more people trying to compete. It's something that is well overdue. It's why so many people have come down to back the race today. We'd love to reach that extra level and really take this race to where it should be.
Yeah, what wonderful scenes, obviously, and we do thank Destination New South Wales. A visit to Sydney, New South Wales will leave you feeling new long after you leave. So get here, you'll feel brand new, and of course you'll be able to take that wonderful sentiment home with you as well. Diverse natural and cultural experiences. And of course, if you want to know more details, the Daily Telegraph. Get a read on a world of content with the Daily Telegraph. One subscription for all your breaking sports news. It's cost of living so much more. Daily Telegraph online, and you subscribe via the website. Do it today, the Daily Telly.
Well, they just went through the 32k mark there just before that drink station, Steve, and Gumri took on as much water as he could, and he's still pushing hard.
He's almost, he's certainly gapped, and he looks great. He's really rolling. He has not put a foot wrong. He's certainly the most dominant looking athlete out on this course today, and in a winning position, absolutely no doubt the way he is running, that's the face and attitude of a winner.
Absolute fantastic achievement. Clear out at the finish line, clear out.
It looks as if there, I think that one of the athletes has gone off course a little bit. We're having to get back to where the main course is. We'll have to wait and check on that a bit later, give some updates on that. Meanwhile, back at the men's marathon, Gumri, well, he's laying it down to the main man, really, Gaye.
Okay, so it looks like normal transmission has been resumed, which is good news. Just taking a look back over the shoulder, so we're just getting some details on how that unfolded.
Not far away, I think, our lead wheelchair athlete there. Might be, I'm not sure if might be Jake Lappin.
Jake Lappin maybe went down to the finishing of one of the other events, one of the 10Ks or the half marathon there by mistake, and they had to turn him around to get him back out onto the marathon course, which is a bit of a shame. I don't think he lost much in terms of someone catching him, but obviously disappointment, really.
I'm not sure, that's right. Looks like, I think, is making the turn into the finish precinct. We're seeing where our finish booth right in on the finish line, and here he comes.
So you can see the crowd is gathered, wheeling his way across the line, and our first competitor to arrive. Well done, congratulations, our first wheelchair competitor across the line for the Sydney Marathon, and what a level of exhaustion, a marvellous achievement. Eloise Wellings will be down there to interview very, very shortly. But a magnificent effort from all of our competitors, of course. And what a result for Josh Cassidy from Canada across the line. Well done, Josh. You can see Eloise working up there. But an awesome result. And Josh Cassidy, congratulations, our first wheelchair athlete across the line.
Meanwhile, back at the men's race, this looks like it could be the winning move.
Othmane El Gumri, that is a real gap, and now Guyao, our pre-race favourite, has certainly now had some questions thrown to him, and he hasn't been able to answer.
Well, this is great running from the Moroccan. He has looked, as you say, Steve, great all the way through the race. Just almost, in fact, holding himself back with the pacemakers at some stage. And then as soon as the pacemakers disappeared, he surged to the front, made a move. At that point, Gaye came up to him, the favourite of the race, to try and sort of maybe take it on. But he just kept surging and surging and surging. And now he's got this massive gap and he's running so well. Look at the rhythm, the pace. Legs are good, arms are working well. There's no fatigue there at the moment.
Looking very comfortable, very focused, looking down the road, not looking back, not worried about it. It's his race to win. He's looking up the road, looking forward. He's a 2:05 12 marathon PB, and looking like he'll be outside that today, but he's certainly going to look like at the moment to be the winner of this race. How will the carnage behind him unfold?
No, it's looking interesting because maybe even Gaye has been overtaken. Who's that Korea just coming past? Have to wait and see. We get a close-up of that.
Back to the women's.
So the women remain within a bit of a group, whereas the men have really started to splinter, haven't they?
Well, they're still somewhat back from that, I suppose, all-important 30k mark, which you said was psychologically the sort of the point where most people will start making a move.
And I think that will happen. I think at some stage this group will break up as well. And their pace, they're like the men, they're a little bit off the pace that we expected. So that's why there is such a big pack. But you see, they're not in single file yet. So again, I expect once they get through 30k out of Centennial Park, they'll start to put the pedal to the metal, and we'll see who out of this group that's probably still 7 or 8 women. I think it'll come down to 2 or 3 pretty quickly as we go through that 32k mark.
So the area they're working up into has got Allianz Stadium, renovated in 2022, also known as the Sydney Football Stadium, state-of-the-art sports and entertainment stadium, home of the Sydney sporting teams like Sydney FC, the Roosters in the NRL, the Tars in the Rugby Union. It's also hosted epic concerts all sorts of big names, Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift amongst them, including Barbara Streisand. That's about your era, Steve Ovett, I would have thought. So Allianz Stadium is a milestone at the 35k mark, and you can see it there. Look at that. Looks absolutely beautiful. You can see the SCG as well. What a precinct it is with Allianz Stadium and the SCG. Some amazing sporting endeavours for cricket, rugby league, rugby union, concerts as we've spoken about, soccer, football, you call it what you want. That is the area they're running through right now.
Wow, look at that. Just panning in there on the race leader. And there he is. And look at the gap. And the gap is what it's going to be. As Steve said, it is sometimes foreshortened with the camera angle, but he's running well. He really is. And behind him, I would say there's a gap of about, well, maybe 100 metres or so to the chaser. But I would say without any doubt, unless something drastically happens, and it does sometimes happen, cramp, fatigue, whatever you want to call it, over the last part of the race, this man is moving away.
And for the everyday weekend warrior, of course, the footwear is super important. We've already seen the ASICS Super Show as well, but the gel Kayanos, you know and love, celebrating 30 years of adaptive stability and premium comfort. That is the 30-year running shoe, the gel Kayano. They are very, very good, and we do thank ASICS for their support. So if you're in the shop, you're looking for something, gel Kayano is the way to go.
I don't reckon he's looking as good. I reckon he's starting to get a bit tired. So I don't think the race is over just yet, Steve. Well, we always love to have a bit of argy-bargy between us commentators, Elsie. So I think the race is still on just yet. Don't concede.
Matty Di Rosario in the lead. About to head down that hill.
Not far away.
Not far away.
Maddie, join us here at the finish precinct.
Yeah, Steve, well, look, you know, you can say that maybe it isn't over, but if I was in his position, I'd be very happy where I am at the moment.
Well, you're controlling the race. You obviously want to be... He's obviously feeling good, and he's dominated the race. As soon as the pace has dropped out, obviously wanted to take it up, felt comfortable, felt good, and is running really strongly. So he's certainly not showing any signs at the moment of... It's catch me if you can at the moment. There's no sign of... He's definitely made a winning break here, and he has to... I think the wheels have to fall off for him. At the moment, running strongly. We'll get some splits. About to approach 35k, so you're looking at, 35 times 3 is getting there about a minute outside that 2:06.36. So 2:07, he's actually rolling. I think he's picked up the pace in this middle section of the race. So we know it can be a fast downhill finish. So he could be quicker than we've predicted. He might. We're sort of heading out towards 2:08 mids, but I reckon we're back into the sub 2:08s now. So he's definitely injected pace. He's feeling good. He's established a race-winning break. It's now whether he can maintain that over this last 7 or 8 Ks, 7.2 Ks.
Well, it's an aerial shot. He's still looking comfortable. I would say, yes, you're right. There is a little bit of fatigue in there, but what would you expect coming into 35k? You're not going to be feeling that fresh.
No, a rocking of the shoulders. I look for the little signs, and we'll see. They'll all start to get it look a little bit ragged. What you want to do is, it's 42.195 kilometres. What you want to do is be absolutely spent as you cross the finish line. Not a step before, a step after. And it's measuring your race and that energy levels. But, yeah, there we go. That is closer to the 2:08 now. So there's certainly been an injection of pace. As I mentioned, I think with this, he's a chance of running sub 2:08.
So we've got our leaders. We've got the man from Morocco who is out in front at the moment. 35 kilometres travelled. We're inside the last 6 or 7 for the Sydney Marathon.
He's still taking on the fluids. Good man. Just behind him, I think it's Correa who's chasing. Well, Correa's got a pretty impressive pedigree. I think he's run about 12 times under 2:10.
We do have two careers. This is Laban Korea. He's a 2:5:41 PB, so about 30 seconds slower than Al Gumri, so very similar PBs, and they're outside that today, but in these conditions on this course, that's really good running. And he's about 17 seconds back, so probably 100 metres back, so
there he is.
Certainly not unachievable to get back onto that pace. And again, that rocking action, not as efficient as I'd like. You need to be efficient. It's all about efficiency, carrying your weight and your body over that distance. It's all about efficiency, how you can do it light on your feet, using the runners, the super shoes and the course to your advantage.
I was just looking ahead. Yes, he can still see, I suppose, the possibility of maybe trying to catch Gumri up there. Whether he's got it in his legs or not is another thing, I think. There they are, you can see there's Gumri just ahead and just behind in the distance, 17 seconds back there. You can just see Korea.
Yeah, he's definitely looking a lot more rhythmic than Korea is, so I think you're right, Steve. It's certainly, he's holding form well at this point.
What a great thing for these athletes to see the leader of the marathon come past them as they're coming down there. As we said before, it's great that this interaction between the elite athletes and the fun runners, looking across at them there, just seeing them, thinking, wow, they've got less than, 6 or 7k to go, and they've probably got a lot longer in their race.
Yeah, it's all part of the journey and the experience today. 6k to go, so through 36.2. So for me, I'm thinking I'm normalising it. That one lap of Lake Wendouree in Ballarat, my hometown, to go, and that's how I'm thinking about it, and pushing towards that 5k to go, because that's a park run distance, so you start to think about things that relate to where you are out on the course and how far you've got to go.
With spectacular views of the harbour, Sydney's much-loved Luna Park is a superbly restored 1930s amusement park where everyone goes just for fun. Behind Luna Park's big old grin is an exciting new world. Beautiful vista is Sydney town, a spring day and one of the world's great events, and it continues to raise in prominence, doesn't it, Monas? The Sydney Marathon continues to raise as part of, obviously, a candidate race for Abbott World Marathon Majors. Huge. It's a massive family to be a part of.
Yeah, a world event we're talking about now. Sydney Marathon, one of the leading marathons in the world. I think at the moment we're voted about number 3 or 4 in the world, and this event this year, all going well, will reinforce that status.
So this is some of our women's leaders here, and Betsy Sainer, you can see nearest to camera, and working our way through with Tanui on the far side.
Yeah, there's still a group of about 4 or 5 there, and as yet no one really making a move like we saw from Gumri in the men's race, but still early days. And most of these women will probably leave it as long as they possibly can to make the move. No one wants to really surge too much too early and give the others a chance to use themselves as a bit of a pacemaker.
I reckon there's an injection of pace in the women's race we're seeing on the right of screen there. I reckon they're starting to accelerate, so I think we're starting to see some injection of pace. I reckon that women's field will break up over the next couple of kilometres.
And the regions they're coming up to, the Art Gallery of New South Wales on Art Gallery Road and the Royal Botanic Gardens, a magnificent sight. Sydney Harbour, the Art Gallery of New South Wales, one of Australia's flagship museums, and certainly a wonderful institution. So that's the area they're coming up to now, and it is Othman Al Gumri who is doing the work out front of the men's classification.
And just approaching 5 kilometres to go. It's about to head down to Mrs Macquarie's Point, Mrs Macquarie's Chair, which is a downhill run to a nice U-turn you do down at the base of that as you look over the water, but you do climb quite significantly out of Mrs Macquarie's Point. That's a significant moment in the race because you get up over that, it's basically a flat or downhill run to the finish, a couple of K to go. So we will see. They'll make that turn and head down into that section of the course. Al Ghumri looks great, and he will be able to, when they turn, he'll also get a distance on the gap between the next group.
Dave Colbert is trackside at the moment. DC, the leader, approaching you now.
Yeah, just about at St Mary's Cathedral, and you can see all of the runners heading out towards Centennial Park. They're on about 4 hours 30 pace, so they've still got a long journey to come. But here comes Al Ghumri. He's been looking fantastic. I've really enjoyed what you've been saying about him. It'll be a big win for him. He was second in Barcelona and third in Valencia, so if he can get a win here, at this point, it's about 37.6 kilometres, so they'll go down into Mrs Macquarie's chair, run back around, and in fact, Maddie Di Rosario's just on the other side of us, just behind our camera. She's heading down. So there's Maddie there. So she's going into Macquarie Street, downhill all the way to the finish line, so she's leading the women. And here comes Al Ghumri now. He looks pretty good. He's still got a bit of bounce. He's got a lead of about 100 metres, I reckon, to the second runner, so he's looking pretty strong.
Dave, talk to us about some of the people behind you as well, because what a marvellous opportunity for them to run on the same terrain as these world-class athletes.
Oh, it's extraordinary. Yeah, no, it's fantastic for those runners. They've still got a long journey to go. We saw the 4-hour paced runner go past about 5 or 6 minutes ago, so they just need to manage their energy. Still a long way for them to go, but they'll get a boost from seeing the elites, of course. We've seen the first 2 males now, and then they'll see the leading women.
Thanks very much, Dave Colbert, trackside there, and wonderful. You could see the wheelchair of one of our Australian champions, a preeminent athlete, and then obviously we've also got the leader of the men's classification as well.
I'm waiting for Maddie. I'm not quite seeing it. She cannot be far away because she'll have a beautiful downhill roll into the finish. So we'll check out on that as we get her in eyesight.
Well, of course, Macquarie Street, that's where the Mint consists of 2 structures, the Mint offices and also the coining factory, located in the most important civic precinct of Sydney. The Mint offices building on Macquarie Street has been a major element in streetscape of Sydney for almost 200 years. So Maddie will be just rolling past that at the moment, and she'll be minting her own winner's medal as she heads past the Mint.
And she'll be building another room on her house to fit all her medals. She's got an impressive CV and building by her win here. First time out at the Sydney Marathon, and will take a famous victory.
Our career is there. He is slightly gaining a little bit on Al Ghumri. Not much, but he is, let's face it. And maybe it's not over yet, but looking about Al Ghumri's a good track man. He's a 13:30 5K runner, so he's got pace if he has to have it, but whether it's still in his legs after 40K or more is another factor.
I think you'll see that run down to Mrs Macquarie's chair and then coming back up the hill, we'll get a clear indication of who's travelling best and who's probably going to take the win.
So the Royal Botanic Gardens, of course, part of the area they've been running through, 30 hectares in the heart of the city, established in 1816, and of course many of our athletes will be coming past that area now. This is our leader though, Othmane Al Ghumri, who has managed to break the hearts of a few others, with the exception though of Laban Correa, who is still just hanging in there at the moment.
He's been overtaken there by one of the women in the wheelies, but he's looking good. I mean, look, he wouldn't back against him, even though Correa is trying his best just behind him. He's checking his watch, he's just jacking his pace. Less than maybe 4K to go now, so there's Correa. He's looking okay. I wouldn't say he's dying, but is he got anything left in his legs? Because if he has, he's got to start using it now. He really has.
Yeah, 100 metres is a massive gap, and obviously if you stay 100 metres, the closer you get to the finish line, then the harder it is to make up any gap. So we're seeing that.
And in our commentary position, Maddie has just rolled across as the first female. So we'll try and catch up with her potentially post-race as well.
To a great reception down here, fantastic crowds. It's a beautiful day here in Sydney, so massive crowds out on the course and certainly lining the finish line here and welcoming our Australian legend, Maddie Di Rosario, home.
So our leader there, Othmane Al Ghumri, and here's Maddie rolling across the line here at beautiful Sydney Opera House. What a magnificent effort. And our first female across the line. An impressive trophy cabinet. We know she's already got so many championships, competed at the national and international level. So well done to Maddie, our first female across the line in the wheelchair classification.
Working a bit harder, but I obviously, I mean, we've only got 3 and a bit kilometres to go, and I think that gap seems to be. Is it holding or close? I think it's holding. I think we're probably seeing a similar gap. It looks closer, but I think on the long shot you'll get a similar gap.
Yeah, it's difficult to say with the camera angle, but he's not losing. He's not losing distance. That's the thing. Career is holding it, if anything. Whether he's closing, deceptive.
And I don't think there's no signs in Al Ghumri's his action, his legs, his head. He has had. There's a bit of a. I don't like the glimpse back. I knew it was going to happen. I always like it when you're looking forward and saying it's for you to catch me. But gee, yeah, I don't know.
He's
I
looking
reckon
good,
that's
Career,
less than
though.
100 metres.
Career's stride is still good.
Yeah. So we've got a race on. So I think I still think Al Ghumri's race is to lose. This is where they've made that turn, and this is quite a steep pinch.
Yeah,
and at this stage of the race, even just a little rise, it feels like a mountain.
Yeah,
so
you
this
saw
is a real
Ghumri
battle.
there. His arms, his hands were sort of really stretching out to get the pace in his legs. He's trying hard to keep the rhythm going. He knows he's not clear. He knows he's not home and dry because he's looking back all the time. And there's that shadowy figure of Career just behind, not losing any ground.
No, and it's a deceptive rise. So it goes steep for a little bit, then it levels, but then it goes again. So we're not out of the hill yet. So they've still got a bit of work to do, and you still feel like you're running away. You don't know, well, you know where the finish line is, but it's still got some work to do. Looking at his watch saying, OK, I'm inside 3K to go, but gee, I've still got a bit of work to do yet. I think he's holding together OK, so I'm not conceding yet, but we've still got a race on our hands.
Looking back now to our lead women here, and you can see.
I think, as we predicted, Koza, there's a significant gap there.
So the two we're looking at the moment, Tanui just slightly closer to camera, and then Betsy Sainer from the USA in the pink just behind her.
Or is that Rama Tusa? I think it might be.
Okay.
Rama Tusa potentially, I reckon. Back to our lead male, Al Ghumri. Yeah, I still reckon maintaining that gap, and we're almost over the hill now. So most of the tough running is done. Do the big sweeping right-hander that they'll be approaching shortly, and then have the long run, downhill running.
Yeah, you saw there where the motorbike moved back there. You saw the distance actually stretching out. It was closer because of the camera angle, but I think at the moment you've got to say, that he's not going to be caught unless something happens. But he's still taking water on, so he must be suffering.
I actually like that he takes water because his concentration. He's mentally astute enough to get it and to come to. Sometimes they struggle to pick a cup up. So I think he's travelling pretty well. He is, yeah, you're definitely right, Steve. Those hands are in a more of a, I've got to force to stay relaxed. Relaxing's not easy now. He's really working hard, and he's saying, I've got this win, I just have to hold together, come on.
Yeah, and this is one of the toughest parts of the course, coming up out of Lady Macquarie's chair. That last little spicy hill, I always think taking the water in that 40-kilometre mark is a chance to reset. There's 2.2k to go. All you've got to do is hang on to the finish line.
He's about to take that bend. I keep saying that bend didn't quite come up as quick as what I wanted, and I'm sure it didn't come up as quick as what he wanted either. But once you do make that turn, it is a nice straight run into the finish line this year, a very fast finish. So psychologically, it would be difficult to close that gap once he's turned onto Macquarie Street. I think that gap needed to be closing, and I think we're probably seeing our two places on the podium decided.
So waiting for them to approach the Sydney Opera House, one of the world's most distinctive buildings, attracting millions of visitors from all over the world. the iconic Sydney Opera House, thriving hub of art, culture and history, and we're lucky enough to be broadcasting from right here in the forecourt as these elite athletes make their way across the finish line. Of course, we've had wins in the men's and women's wheelchair, and now we are waiting for potentially this man here, Othmane El Ghumri, to be first across the line.
Well, the course record last year, Moses Gabet's 2:7:03.
Okay, we need to get trackside. David Colbert is there.
Not too far away from El Ghumri here as they come around past St Mary's Cathedral after they've been down in Mrs Macquarie's chair. As they go up this rise, they take the right-hander into Macquarie Street, and then it's downhill all the way to the finish. So in just the lead cars coming around now, and you can see the motorbikes. And he's still full of running. I heard you saying, Steve Ovett, that he looks like he's got this race in his hands. We know that Career's a quality athlete, but there's a big bounce on the foot of El Ghumri. And as he gets around the corner, he's going to know that he's in the finishing straight. It's a long straight, almost 2 kilometres. But we haven't. Here's the second runner now. So here's Laban Correa. He's actually picked up his cadence, so he's moving pretty quickly. But it's a big gap. It's almost 150 metres, I reckon. So Ghumri inside a victory here.
Thanks, Dave.
Well, that's right. I think Dave gave a quick glimpse of what's going on there, really.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's 150, but I think it's certainly it's difficult to see that gap. El Ghumri would have to slow rapidly.
Yeah, it looks about 14 or 15 seconds. Laban Career, he's probably just hanging on for second here. He's training partners with Eliud Kipchoge, so he's in good company.
We can hear the crowd. We're through 41k. El Ghumri's now saying, well, 41.1, 41.2. Once you're inside the last K, it's all downhill, it's all yours. Try and hold together and enjoy the moment. You don't win marathons, you don't win big marathons around the world all that often. It's his to enjoy as he runs down this long downhill stretch to the finish line.
It's a 15-second gap.
Yeah, Career's running well, but unfortunately El Ghumri's also running well, so the gap's not closing.
So he'll be coming down past the mint as well, and he too will be minting his own winner's medal as he makes his way down there towards the Sydney Opera House. Great scenes, big crowd, wonderful, wonderful scenic vista, and he checks the watch as he comes through. At this stage, obviously, the watch checking is almost secondary to the actual first placing, Steve Monaghan.
Well, I think he's saying, well, the record's gone. We won't see a course record today, but the fact he's checking his watch, he's not looking behind. He's now saying, I'm going to run about 2.8, just in the 2.8s. I've got the win. It's a good day at the office. Hold together. Keep it running, keep it rolling. And he's not looking back as well. He's running for home, so he knows he's the winner and trying to enjoy, keep that rhythm and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, I think it's crucial at this part of the race just to focus on that finish line and not look behind. It does show a little bit of vulnerability when you take a look. If you're out in front, it shows that you might be a little bit scared of them being able to close the gap.
Well, he got the traffic light there. He didn't have to stop for that. So he's coming straight through, and he's looking good. He really is. And he's looked good all the way through the race. Let's give him credit, really. He's never looked in danger. He's looked smooth. At that 30k mark, he made the actual, I think, significant decision to go ahead, and it's paid dividends. It really has.
Yeah, he deserves the win. He was the aggressor. He took it up once the pace has dropped out, and he's run like a winner from that 30k mark. So good on him. You see the water now. He'll know he's not far away. We often run the last section of the race just to breed familiarity so that when you are in this position, you know how far it is to go. You're exactly on the money, so no confusing moments now. He knows it's a good downhill run into the finish line. 400, 300 metres to go, and he's here.
I've just seen the Porsche, of course, the first all-electric sports car with the soul of a Porsche has just turned off the course, so our winner's not going to be far away.
Just outside that 2.08. Looks, I'd say, 200 metres to go. About 34 seconds, so he'd be mid-2.8s. Strong running on a day that's probably been a little bit warmer and more humid than we expected, so it's massive running.
This is certainly a world-class event, the Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS. And we've got our winner about to cross the line. It is simply excellence from El Ghumray. Manye El Ghumray takes out the Sydney Marathon for 2023. What a wonderful, wonderful effort from the man from Morocco. In second place, you can see Laban Korea. What a race for him as well. Terrific second step on the podium for Korea.
Oh, Ghumray's on the floor. He's given everything
sure
he's had.
He's excited, happy, emotional, or he's knackered.
He looks
Probably a bit of both.
A bit of everything, I think. Look at it.
On show right now. Here they come.
Wow. It was a great run. He took it to them. He did everything, as you say, Steve, he had to do, and he's got the reward.
Let's go.
2:8:19, so 3:02 pace. He's held together really well. We did think they might come home a bit quicker, and he has in that back half come home in a slightly quicker pace.
So here it is. Here's the replay of him crossing the line. And I'm not going to say he did it comfortably, but his form was so good. He seemed in control.
I mean, that's a good run. I mean, the time that's a good time, really, considering it's not a course record, but it's so close to it. And the way that he ran it, I think, is the fact that he was absolutely exhausted at the end is an indication of how much effort he put in there.
Isn't it interesting? You know, you hold together as soon as you cross the finish line, the emotion, the tiredness, the weariness all comes out, and you see that. You've got to hold. You've got to, it's an internal battle. We don't see it, but the internal battle
you
is
can see
happening.
it, you know, in the last, say, 3 or 4 kilometres, his hands were getting tired, the fingers were getting spaced out. He was tiring, but he kept the rhythm going. And that's what's all that matters. In the last part of the marathon, that's all that counts.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Staying as comfortable and as relaxed as you can, even under pressure, is, I found, the key to the marathon. And, you know, he was able to stay in a rhythm the whole way. And, you know, really, he's never really challenged it.
I give credit to Korea, because Korea was there. If he was going to die, if El Ghumray was going to die, Korea was there. He was waiting for it.
Yep.
So we've got third place making up the podium, and really our 2 front runners were a long way out in front, weren't they?
They were. I think that might be Getano Mola, I think, Ethiopian. Possibly, I think, coming through in third place. Just trying to get the name on one. He's celebrating. He's in good shape. He actually looks better than the first 2. He's been able to enjoy that run into the finish.
So it's Mola who will make up the podium for the Sydney Marathon. And well done to Getane Mola. And David Colbert, we can check in with you again trackside while we've got our 3 men across the line. It's still a race for the women.
Absolutely. In fact, our lead women just went through then. I didn't quite get the name, but the second place getter is right on her hammer. So there's only about 50 metres between those 2 as they go into Mrs. Macquarie's chair. They actually speed through that section, as we saw with the men. We also saw Brett Robinson not too long ago, looking a lot better than he was when we saw him earlier in the race. So he'd be looking for a top 10 position. But we've got our first 2 lead women and a big stretch back down the road, at least 300 or 400 metres. So I think the race is still on for the women's title.
Thanks, Dave. Betsy Sainer, we can see there in the pink top. Heading towards the finish line at the Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS.
Yep. Oh, yes.
Looking at that before, I think the pacemaker Kalimo was still there, just taking them through in the women's race.
Which is a good effort, and hopefully can stay and get them. You know, I think the pace is probably injected a bit in the second half. We mentioned it's a bit more downhill, so the fact the pace is there probably helps them. Good on them. You know, your pacing job done whenever you choose to step off, but obviously feeling pretty good.
Well, she's kept going for a long, long time, so that's an impressive performance if that is the case. Just looking down now with the helicopter shot. Yeah, there it is, 44. Kiplimo is doing the pace, and she is doing an incredible job, really, taking these athletes through.
It's Betsy Sainer. As I mentioned earlier, ran a PB 2 hours 21 and 5th in the Tokyo Marathon in March this year. So she's having a great race today.
I've actually been in a race where the pacemaker wins it in the end, so who knows with this? Anything can happen really in the women's.
You mentioned Betsy Sainer last night. I asked what sort of shape she was in, Eloise, and you told me she was a quality athlete. Well, we're seeing that today, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's so great to see these women, you know, go and have a child and start a family and come back to their running career. And that's exactly what Betsy's done. And she's having an incredible run today and inspiring to so many women, not just, you know, the professional elite female runners, but women all over, to be able to, you know, go and have a child and then continue on with their professional career is absolutely incredible. It's a challenge, and we all know that, but she's obviously embraced that challenge, and she's definitely leaning into this race today.
Well, Kiplimo is doing an incredible job pacemaking up to the 38-kilometre mark in the women's race. And she's looking around as if to say, I'm still comfortable, I can still keep going.
We've got Angela Tanui right behind her.
Sydney offers something for everyone. Dynamic multicultural neighbourhoods, golden beaches and national parks, exciting and innovative dining and retail, continually evolving arts and cultural offerings, and an action-packed calendar of world-class events.
My name is Angela Tanui from Kenya. This is my first time to be in Sydney. I'm very happy to arrive here. The city is very nice. I like so much.
Actually, it is beautiful city. I'm so excited to be here. It was my dream to compete in Australia. I am happy that my dream come true through Sydney, and I am happy to race in Sydney Marathon.
For sure, it will be a fast race. My hope is that we will run the best ever in Sydney. That's what I'm thinking, and I hope so. All the best for those who will race Sydney Marathon.
A wonderful international contingent from nearly 70 countries, people all around the world wanting to come here and have a look at the scenery in front of the Sydney Opera House. Why wouldn't you want to run at the Sydney Marathon? It is a wonderful, wonderful, picturesque course, and obviously it's the course has changed slightly this year. It's faster. It's got less cobbles. It's a wonderful course to be able to run. We've got our men's across the line, and it was Othmane El Gumri, and now we've got our women as they approach the Sydney Opera House.
And that's that Mrs. Macquarie's point. They've turned. Now they have this challenging part of the course where they run up to the cathedral, the point they came down. So there's a little loop they do in here. They'll be aware of this hill and sort of test them, but she's looking great.
Yeah, I think if Betsy can just stay and not panic, I guess, at this point. She's obviously got Angela Tanui pretty hot on her heels in the background there. But if she can just maintain her form up this hill, up towards the old library there out of Lady Macquarie's chair, and then, as you say, it's that right turn all the way down the hill. I think who's ever in the lead there will take it out.
Yeah, as I said before, it's a good position to be in. You've got Kiplimo there helping out with the pace. You've not got too far to go, 3K or so to go now. As long as you can keep that rhythm going, as we said before in the men's race, it's important.
We've already seen our wheelchair men's and women's cross the line. Here is our women's winner.
Madison, congratulations. Absolute daylight between you and second. What a strong race. How was that for you today?
That was amazing. That was a lot of fun. It's a tough course. I wasn't 100% sure what to expect, and it definitely got trickier as the course went on, but it's a great day, and the way the course kind of doubles back on itself to get to be out there with all the runners as well is absolutely unreal. It's one of my favourite styles of course. Oftentimes in the wheelchair division, you're out at the front, you don't see a single person from beginning to end, but to get to kind of be out there on the roads with the runners, it's one of the best feelings.
And speaking of a tough course, we know that you're strong on the hills. We saw that at the Tokyo Paralympics where you took gold. What does it mean to have all the spectator energy in the atmosphere? How much does that help you?
Oh, it's almost like where your ability to kind of push through ends. It's like the crowd begins for you. I think it's the best way to describe it. I think in those toughest points, and they're always at the toughest points, do you know what I mean? And to have that right there as you're fading. And we had some brilliant cyclists with us on the course, and they were kind of like, yeah, it's a great environment out there. It's a great atmosphere.
Well, congratulations. Go and enjoy the day, and we hope to see you back here again next year.
Absolutely. Thank you.
What an absolute rock star she is, no doubt about it at all. And you talked, Eloise, about the rich history of, obviously, female wheelchair athletes that have been a big part of it for the last 30 or 40 years through Australian athletics.
Yeah, as I say, her Maddie's coach is Louise Savage. She's a 9-time Olympic, Paralympic medalist, and Maddie describes her as her hero and her mentor, and it's a beautiful friendship and relationship that they've got, and it's obviously incredibly successful.
Betsy's just taking on a bit of fluid there.
She's almost over that hump and can turn it and do that sweeping right-hander that we mentioned in the men's event. So she's looking. You always, I suppose, you do want to think. I think I'm winning, and I think I've got a winning break, but you're never quite sure. So I think once she does the big turn, we know that's no change probably from there. She's looking great. Again, she's also got that left hand out straight. She might be just feeling it a little bit, working a bit harder, but through 40k.
You're going to get a few aches and pains, surely, at this sort of rhythm at the moment.
We're fortunate enough to have Dave Colbert on the course. Colby, I think they're getting to you very, very close. Betsy Sainer, our lead female contender. We'll check in with Dave Colbert. Dave, are you there as Betsy Sainer approaches?
Yeah, not too far away, Coz. I can tell you the energy is up here. We're at the ASICS Hot Zone. There's a DJ, there's an announcer that's revving up the crowd, and as the Weekend Warriors stream through still, as they come up Macquarie Street, they're looking for something in and around 5 hours. So on the left-hand side of the road, we've got all of these runners looking to try and break 5 hours, and our lead runner can't be too far away. We're actually standing right on the corner of Macquarie Street, Hyde Park, beautiful spot. Downhill run to the finish once they get here, so not too far away. In fact, I can see the lead car just coming around the corner now. The atmosphere, I'll tell you, it's amazing. This DJ playing some hot tunes, and I'm just getting into I'm feeling fresh, I have to say, for 40k. So lead women, not too far away. We've got a couple of our men coming around the corner. So maybe just give us a couple of minutes or so and we'll have our lead women.
No problem at all. Dave Colbert there from the USA, Betsy Sainer. We can see her on screen. She won't be far away from where Dave Colbert is at the moment. But Betsy Sainer represented Kenya, obviously, now representing the USA.
Yeah, she still looks amazing, to be honest. I think she's just had such a strong run. Her form still looks really good. I mean, at this point of the race, I've definitely seen worse. So she's just hanging in there. She's got the lead. There's a little bit of adrenaline that comes with that when you're out in the lead, Mona.
Oh, yeah, and she's got the shadows at the cathedral. She'll be about to pass Dave on that corner and make that turn. She looks good, strong.
Yeah,
holding it together, Steve.
I think she's looking really strong. One of the things I think we were worried about was the heat, wasn't it, really? But to be honest, I don't think it's affected the athletes too much this time round.
Dave Colbert, I think she might be now in your sights.
Yeah, just went past Betsy Sainer. Still full of running, but this race isn't over as Chota comes around the corner as well. So that gap, it's about 80 metres, but Chota is flying. So this race isn't over. Women's race, under 2 kilometres remaining. As they reach the crest, they've got a downhill run. We know it's a long stretch, not over here.
Yeah, Chota has taken over Angela Tanui. She's a second ahead of her now. Chota was actually 4th in the Sydney Marathon last year, so she'd be definitely looking for a podium finish here, and she might even be sniffing gold.
Yeah, so Rama Tusa-Kota is about 15 seconds, but less. I think Dave Colbert has let us know she's absolutely flying. So we'd give that gap being less than the 15 seconds it was at 40K. There we see her.
Take us through the mile. You can see where you want to be. You can see where you want to be, but you just are going to have to take your time to get there.
I actually used the markers on the side and say, well, I'm definitely closing, because when she went, because you can't see it in a straight line, so you need to see where you're at the building and you try and pick up for signs. She's absolutely flying. This race is far from over. We didn't see the change at the lead in the men's, but I'm sensing from Dave's knowledge out on course, this is going to be tight. I think there's still a race on her hands.
It's just close to a 9-second gap now. It was 14 seconds about a minute ago, so Chota is definitely closing, and at this point of the race, in a downhill finish like this, it's all about letting go physically, letting go mentally, and just giving it your all to the finish line.
Do you think that Betsy Saina's got any indication of what's happening behind her?
I think she might have just had a sneaky look there, and she knows what's coming, and hopefully she can have a little bit of extra kick in the end.
I think Kip Limo's probably given her the heads up, and it's now, has she got anything to lift? It is downhill, but it's a long run in. We've still got, she's a K away, so a lot happens in the last K of a marathon.
Yeah, that's right, Mona. She's so close to the finish now, and there's still enough gap to take it from here, but she just needs to hang on. She needs to stay calm and focus on her form, focus on the things that she can control. She knows someone's behind her, but she can't control them. All she can do is focus on what she's doing.
It is relative, isn't it? It's what speed the lead's doing compared to what's coming up behind. And at the moment, I would say they're holding their own. She's actually trying to pick up the pace a bit, I think. Her arms are working harder.
I think she probably responded to that message that second is closing and she needs to lift, and I think she's probably reinforced that lead. I'd love to get a split. I reckon she's holding.
She just had a little wry smile there. I think she knows it's her. She seems confident. She's definitely pushing now and working hard to the finish. You can see the work on her face, the effort.
Trying to get a visual on second, and
I think she's got it, Mona.
I think she's probably okay, I'd say. It looks like Rama Tusa-Kota is just holding at about that 10 seconds. Difficult to close that in what's probably 400 metres.
We're talking about something that's gone for nearly 2.5 hours and a gap of 10 seconds. You know,
it happens. Last year at the men's race, it was down to the last 100 metres before the race result was over and done.
Hands in the air. She's safe. Here we go.
What a wonderful international contingent we have got here. And from the USA, we are going to have our first female across the line. And have a look at it, the big smile, the hands are pumping. It's Betsy's big day. Betsy Saina is our winner of the Sydney Marathon 2023. Female first across the line, Betsy Saina.
And we saw second cross. She was full of running.
She was flying.
That was...
Rama Tusa-Kota was so close, and you can see on the ground there, Betsy had to hold on, but Betsy Saina, our women's winner.
Congratulations, Betsy is our champion.
Great run. She knew that she was being challenged over that last kilometre, but she put it together. She got her arms working, and she pulled it off.
And good camaraderie there. Both delighted. It's been a solid day out there, quite warming, but enjoying the victory. Both in the finish chute there, so that's a good race. We love to see the close race and exciting finish and enjoying it. Betsy Saina delighted with that victory.
So is that relief? Is it jubilation? Is it the fact that I don't have to put one foot after the another for a little while?
She's actually in pretty good shape. She's enjoying the victory there.
Absolutely.
So I think she's ran, again, like in the men's, made a conscious effort to break the field when it was significant through that 30k, 32k mark, and deservedly so runs to a famous victory.
The podium places being made up now. And again, a bit like the men's, we had a couple that were right out there at the pointy end, and then obviously a bit of a gap back to third place. But wonderful crowds here at the Sydney Opera House, and no doubt, because this is in with the League of London and New York and those sort of marathons. So great effort. Third place home in the Sydney Marathon. Well done. So Gladys Kiptagalo.
Yep.
Fantastic work from Gladys. And hadn't figured prominently early in that group, and now obviously made the break as well, and third place for Gladys. So we will be bringing our runners home. First, second and third in the women have just arrived, and of course first, second and third in the men. We've got our wheelchair winners as well, but we have got over 40,000 people that are out on this beautiful course, many of them making their way home to the finish line here at the Sydney Opera House as part of the Sydney Marathon presented by ASICS.
Well, the aerial shot just showing the athletes coming through there to the Opera House. Great family atmosphere here today. Crowds all over the course. Absolutely fantastic.
One of the world's great finish lines, surely. Look at that. Sydney Opera House beckons as you come down that fast, straight stretch down Macquarie Street, and what a welcoming sight that would be. But a spectacular finish line, the forecourt of one of the great wonders of the world, the Sydney Opera House.
Oh, and obviously the obligatory selfies with the winners. Why not, if you can get it?
She looks like she could go round again, Monas. She's a big smile, happy to participate.
Yeah, she's in better shape than El Grumri we saw. El Grumri was on the floor for some time after the men's race, but yeah, she's really loving it. And it was a great run. I think the excitement for her is fantastic.
She probably wasn't a favourite, so a good outcome, a good result.
On the clock. Oh, they're coming in thick and fast, Lauren.
Let's clap along, guys. Here we go.
Sydney Opera House looking an absolute treat. And the beautiful Sydney Harbour. And we do thank Destination New South Wales. A visit to Sydney, New South Wales will leave you feeling new long after you leave. The boats on the harbour, the famous ferries, and for many people it'll be that sense of accomplishment of having completed a marathon. It might take 5 hours, might take 6 hours, might be just inside the 7-hour window.
Well, you can't all be winners in a race, especially the marathon, but you've got to be, capable of doing what you want to do. Simple as that. And if you achieve that, then I think that's enough. A marathon is a significant target to tackle.
Nothing quite like a selfie with the winner. Congratulations to Betsy Sainer, our first female across the line, the winner of the women's classification. Big beaming smile. Selfies weren't around in your time, Steve. I bet you would have taken a few with your gold medal at the Olympics, and Mona's would have had. Eloise has probably got a couple from her winning efforts, but it is a new thing now, the selfie, and everyone wants to be a part of the winners.
I think with my selfies would have been in black and white, I think, that far back.
I have a few. Thanks, Ian.
I said that you would have. I wasn't sure about these other two distinguished gentlemen. Absolutely not.
I used to bring a pen along for autographs. No one wanted autographs. All selfies now. Yeah.
And
we've got Sinead Diver finishing in 8th place, and our Australian record holder 2:31.26.
Yeah, and that's a strong run from Sinead. She should be really happy with that after the build-up that she's had. And, you know, I saw her sons yesterday, Dara and Eddie, and her husband Colin's here as well. So they're all cheering across the finish line, which is amazing. And she'll go from strength to strength from here.
What a great shot. Look at that. Everybody on the steps of the Opera House. You're not getting a better backdrop than that anywhere, I don't think. And
the
they're all enjoying
elevation of the
themselves.
steps allowing you to sort of see over top of each other. It's perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
So a natural grandstand for everyone to be able to enjoy the Sydney Marathon.
Who was that famous
ASICS?
architect? Whoever designed, I'm sure they were thinking in 2023 we're going to need all those steps for those thousands of spectators bringing home the runners at the Sydney Marathon.
Just off the top of my head, Jorn Utzon it was, and it was opened in 1973, which really at the time was quite amazing, and still now, 40, 50 years later.
50th anniversary.
50th anniversary. We've got one of the most recognisable buildings in the world.
Yeah, next to the pyramids, I suppose, yeah.
And you can see the Sydney Harbour Bridge as well, not to be left out, just creeping into the left of frame there as our runners and some of our elite international contingents continue to make their way across the line and into the forecourt here of the Opera. She did a lot of work early, obviously, as a part of this group. Judith?
Looks like she's had a hard day at the office. Not limping, but really happy to cross the finish line, and you're seeing the effects of what 42, even to the best in the world, can have on the body.
Judith Correa there from Kenya.
Pre-race favourite, 2:18.20, second at the World Championships in 2022. So
if you're suffering in a marathon, Steve, and you know with about 10k to go, do you try and push it, or do you just say, okay, it's not my day today, I'm just going to ease through and maybe have a better race later in the year? What do you do?
I only had one suffering race, and that was at the Olympic Games in Barcelona, and no matter what they were going to do to me, I was finishing, because you put on an Australian singlet, you wear it with pride, especially at the Olympic Games, and if I had to crawl across that finish line, I did. I still ran 2:23 and ran 43rd or something, but that was as suffering as close to I got. But you call in the Australian singlet, the people that have supported you along the way, your family, your friends, because you need all of those external influences, because if it was just you, you'd stop.
Yeah, I agree. It's really just about giving your best with what you've got at any given moment.
Some wonderful chopper shots, of course, right across the Sydney CBD and also the harbour area. You're travelling a little bit higher than that, though, if you are in the Vietjet, the official airline partner for the Sydney Marathon, a new age airline. You can fly high, run strong, and reach for the skies with Vietjet, the official airline partner for the Sydney Marathon.
So many people flying in, an international event. It is a world-class event. That's what the Abbott World Marathon Major candidacy means. If we establish it, become 7th, 8th and 9th major, it's a world event, and we've seen world-class runners today pounding the pavement, as well as record marathon numbers here with over 17,000. 17,000. Double we've ever had on Australian soil before. Shows that the participants, the Australian community, is spoken with its feet.
Yeah.
We're delighted to see it.
Of course, Destination New South Wales, that's where everyone wants to come to. Look at that top right there. New South Wales, Sydney and New South Wales, home to unique and diverse natural and cultural experiences that can energise you like nowhere else. Come here, top up on all the energy. You're probably expending it over 42 Ks, and then you can head out into the wild blue yonder as well.
And we used to take a couple of weeks. The family would come over, and Tanya and our children, and we because you're recovering, you're not doing as much running. A lovely way to see the country. You know, we'd hire a vehicle, and away we'd go on a bit of a tour, and less focus on me running and more on the family experience. And what better place to do that than Sydney, New South Wales, Australia?
Well, no doubt we need to thank all our sponsors as well. Fonz, obviously, with the electric scooters. ASICS, the Daily Tally in there as well. Porsche, Transurban, Goo Energy, Vietjet, and also Destination New South Wales. You're watching the Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS.
Stunning views of the harbour there.
Yeah, from our commentary position where we are, you can literally just see the ferries. Literally could just almost touch them, which means that, you know, we're in the, probably, I would say, and I've been in a few commentary boxes in my time, this is probably the most world-class commentary position I've ever been in.
Now, you can see us just to the bottom of left of frame there, and of course the good people who are manning the barricades as well to cheer home the men and the women who are doing so well. And for a lot of people, this will be the first time they might have run this distance.
Indeed. And by complete coincidence, I'm going to steal not your thunder, Ian, but Brett Robinson also finished 8th and ran that 2:23 I mentioned I ran in Barcelona. So solid by Robbo in 8th. You know, as Elsie mentioned, he's had some issues coming in, and just great to have our national record holders running our Sydney Marathon here on Australian soil, and I admire them for that, and look forward to this race building and becoming such a big race for Australians. Yeah, absolutely. I think that the two having them come the top 8 is it's really strong running from both Brett and Sinead today. As I said, they've had an interrupted build-up, but they wanted to be here and support the event, and they've actually had really strong runs. Shout out to Brett's mum, Sandy, who's doing her debut today also. He's hoping to run under 6 hours, so Brett will be around to the finish line for a while longer. And isn't it great that, you know, she would have supported him for so many years, and now he gets a chance to return the favour. Absolutely. I know that she was actually following Brett's training program that he put together for the Sydney Marathon, the beginner training program. So, it's beautiful that he'll be able to cheer her on to the finish line today.
Sydney looking a picture, the CBD, the Opera House, just to the top right. That's where the finish line is.
The Sydney Marathon is one of the world's great marathons. It's also one of the most scenic courses on the planet, as you can see on the course behind me. So on Sunday, runners will cross the Harbour Bridge, run through our historic suburbs and along the foreshore before finishing at the Opera House forecourt. The Sydney Marathon has been nominated to join the Abbott World Marathon Majors. This covers 6 of the biggest and most respected marathons in the world: Berlin, Boston, Chicago, London, New York and Tokyo. Wouldn't it be great to have Sydney at the end of that list? And I think we're in with a shot.
Well, look who I bumped into down here at the Sydney Marathon. It is George and Pam from the Amazing Race Australia. Now, before we talk about the marathon, which starts very, very soon, we had our own marathon earlier in the year, the Amazing Race Australia. Are you back in reality yet?
Well, don't feel like I'm back in reality because we got horrifically lost coming from Western Sydney here to the lower North Shore, and we couldn't find the starting point. So it takes me right back to the race and lots of happy memories.
Flashbacks of India, isn't it, Pam?
It is definitely flashbacks of India, and hopefully this isn't an omen of what we're about to get into.
In some ways, the people of India were more open and friendly than the people of the lower North Shore here.
Can you get on your way? I reckon we'll send you on your way. Get in the crowd, get going. Good luck. They're going to need all the luck they can get. Macca's for breakfast. There you go.
So there's Bo Ryan, of course, host of Amazing Race Australia, which you can see across the 10 network. This broadcast this morning live across the 10 network, Fox Sports, but also internationally, Eurosport in Asia, in Europe, Fuji TV, Japan, Shanghai TV, Guangzhou TV as well. So broadcast globally, and this event is of global status now, as we just heard earlier on. So these men and women that are running in it right now, they are part of a huge, huge event that continues to grow.
Yeah, that international component, and we've been beamed across the world. The status rises. Athletes look at it and say, yeah, that's where we're going to pencil in for next year and make the trip to Sydney Marathon well organised, picturesque course, some iconic parts on the course and a beautiful finish line, and crowds out on the course to support you.
I think it's a bucket list thing, isn't it? Really, as they always say. You know, you do the 6 already of the main marathons, and then you put another one in there. It almost guarantees that most people that have done the other 6 will want to come straight here to Sydney to tick it off.
Agreed. I think, and what a more iconic place than coming to Sydney to do a marathon where people can truly experience a great race.
You talk about some of the crowds. Well, there's 4 spectator live sites with MCs, DJs, fun incentives, giveaways, the whole lot in there as well. And Hot Corner's obviously a real part of it. So there's been a marvellous vibe, a marvellous atmosphere. A lot of people getting up on a Sunday morning. Some might be feeling a little bit rustier than others, but everyone's managed to get here. And obviously they're cheering on maybe an athlete you might know, or just recognising some excellence that's been recorded.
And think about them out on the course, going to be out there. We've extended it to a 7-hour cut-off, so very achievable for people to do, and out there till the early hours of the afternoon. It'll be pretty warm at the back end. I'm sure they're hydrating and been hydrating this week to make sure they can enjoy the experience that finishing a marathon provides in such a beautiful setting.
I think also you've got to congratulate the organisers of the event itself, not just the competitors. But this is a major thing to take on board, to actually close off the roads, to get those 2,000 helpers out there doing the right thing, hydration bottles, people, corners cordoned off, signposts changed, everything that has to take place within 2 or 3 days of a marathon is absolutely fantastic. To do that is really, you've got to say, take your hats off to everybody. Great performance.
Yeah, for sure. It's been said that volunteers are the heartbeat of any event, and for people to come out and lend their time and service to an event like this is honourable.
And you are a Sydney-sider, so it must make you...
I'm so proud. I'm proud to be a Sydney-sider, especially today. What an incredible atmosphere we have down here at the finish line, and just out there interviewing the guys at the finish and in the elite races, and Madison as well, just the energy at the finish line from the spectators cheering on their loved ones home already, and we're going to be seeing this for the next couple of hours.
And of course, part of it is the family, the kids zone at Driver Avenue, and that's wonderful as well, the kids zone in there. There's some of our bridge climbers, bridge walkers. What a view they've had of runners going underneath them as well. So it is a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. But the kids zone, the family environment, super, super important.
Not just about running, it's embracing the whole experience that a Abbott World Marathon major provides. It's far more than the race itself.
Of course, for all your news, the Daily Telly is what you want to be doing. You can search for Daily Telly online, the Daily Telegraph. Subscribe via the website. 1 subscription for all your breaking sports news, cost of living, so much more. Plenty of content in there, the Daily Telly, wonderful supporters of the Sydney Marathon.
Can't do it without them, all the supporters. We thank the Sydney community, seriously, for letting us indulge today and use your backyard.
Well, let's have a look at some of the results as they've unfolded. Steve Ovett, Steve Monaghetti, Eloise Wellings, talk us through this.
Well, Agumre, obviously a great run from him. He dominated. Just behind him, Korea. He was chasing hard, give him credit. He almost caught him. And then behind that, in 3rd place, Tamiri. A great 1, 2, 3 for those.
And probably a little bit weather affected, so the 2:8:19 outside the course record of 2:7:03 last year, but still world-class running. And I think...
And our Aussie?
Yeah, and Brett Robinson there, back we see. Just great having your national record holder out on the course here in Sydney today.
Yeah, I agree. And Robbo, that's a great run, top 8 in such a classy field. I counted 16, really top men in that elite field, and so that's a great run from Brett today. He should be proud.
For those playing along at home, Julian Spence from the Inside Running podcast, 2:26 07. I think there's a competition. I'll be happy.
Look at this, 8 seconds, only 8 seconds in the end, but congratulations to Betsy Sainer.
I mean, Betsy Sainer, I'm so happy for her personally. It's so great to see another mum come back from having her first child and come back so strongly. And, you know, she was just so incredibly happy and excited down there at the finish line. And, you know, and obviously Choda right hot on her heels, but she managed to hang on.
Sinead, the first of the locals across the line.
Yeah, Sinead again. I mean, it's still a really strong run from Sinead after the build-up that she's had, and she'll push on from here. And she's obviously a top pick for the Paris Olympics next year. She's got the national record now that she'd wanted for so many years, and now she's got that. And I think it's definitely lifted her confidence.
Yeah, less pressure on getting a record now. It's about performing race results and adding to that CV at major championships, which is what we all love to see, and great role model.
Yeah, I think it was a great opportunity for her to actually just practice racing, practice competing without any pressure.
Congratulations to all of our winners. Congratulations to everyone who is still finishing. Wonderful to be part of the broadcast. Eloise Wellings, Steve Monaghetti and Steve Ovett, and on behalf of our production crew and wonderful people behind the scenes, Wayne Larden, Ian Gates and Jason Jenkins, it's good morning from the Sydney Marathon.